Okay, welcome to All Access Coaches Corner with Rising Coaches. So excited for the Super Six today. D1 Life have some big time, high level impact guests that are on. Some rising stars of impact in the business. Some of the unsung heroes. So looking forward to having some good conversation with them. If you haven't been to risingcoaches.com, please check it out. www.risingcoaches.com. Really inexpensive membership, $10 a month to invest in your career for networking, connections, professional development, and then just overall a community of people that you can be connected to and figure out ways to continue to rise for whatever position you want in this business. So definitely a great resource. I'll get started and let these guys kind of get going. I'll let them introduce themselves and their school, and then we'll kind of get the party started. So yeah, we'll start with we'll save Tommy for last. He's got some good news for us, some surprise for us. We like to break news on All Access. So we'll go with we'll go alphabetical order for first name. We'll go Aaron first.
Appreciate you having me on, man. This is obviously a great platform. Aaron Proctor, Director of Operations at Southeast Missouri State. This is my first year.
Awesome. Then we'll go down to Mobile, Alabama next.
So I'm Mike Kosich, Director of Men's Basketball Operations down here at South Alabama. It's my second year in the spot, third year here at the school.
Awesome. We'll go West Coast to Jerry Brown.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I appreciate you guys having me. Awesome platform to be on, and I'm excited about being on here. So I'm Jerry Brown, men's basketball assistant, University of San Diego.
Awesome. We'll go stay a little bit west. Go to Denver.
Brian, man, I want to say thanks for having me on first and foremost. Really appreciate it. We've known each other for a long time, coming full circle for sure. Dwight Thorne, University of Denver, assistant men's basketball coach.
Then we'll go to down south in H-Town, one and only.
What's up, guys? Appreciate you inviting us on to this, Brian. I'm happy I got you some wins in high school at that camp so you can invite me. But Mikhail McLean, University of Houston, Assistant Director of Player Development.
Awesome. Then we'll save the drum roll for last. Got my man. So quick, I'll say some good things about everybody. Obviously, I'm connected to everybody on the call. Blessed for all of them to be on. But Tommy is the number one reason why I got connected with Rising Coaches because of Tommy Strine. We're in the same Lamar family, but his hustle on Rising Coaches, I got him connected to another coach, was trying to encourage a friend of mine, and Tommy took time out to do that. And in the midst of that conversation, we started talking more, and he came on another Zoom I was actually a part of hosting, and was very complimentary. And then next thing you know, he hooked me up with Rising Coaches, and it's kind of been, wheels off since then, just kind of taking off. So credit to him, man. He's helped a lot of people in this industry. He's been as impactful during this time, which we'll talk about what you've done during COVID and during this time of the pandemic to how to professionally develop. But one person who has benefited more than anyone, maybe, in fact, of going from, which we'll talk about a lot in the D1 Life, the behind the scenes to getting from an operational staff position or director position or assistant director position or GA to an assistant coach. Coach Thorne and Coach Brown have already made that move. I believe every guest on this call will make that move, and Tommy is just the beneficiary from his hustle during COVID of making that move. So I'll let him tell us about that real quick.
Well, the check's in the mail for that introduction, Brian. I appreciate you. But make no mistake about it, you've done a lot of it on your own. You know, I just gave you a phone number and you kind of took it and ran ran with it. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate being on here with, these big time dudes, like these, all these coaches that I'm on here with, like that's 5 big time dudes, and then me, whether Mikhail knows it or not, like that dude pushes me every day, whether he knows it or not. Just with what he does every day with everything he's putting on Twitter right now, and just the way that he goes about his business, and so I'm thankful for him. I'm thankful for you, B. But I'm Tommy Strine. I guess I can say it now that my new boss kind of made it public yesterday, and I signed my contract today. I'm the assistant men's basketball coach at Chicago State University now. I was formerly the director of basketball operations at Lamar University, but Coach Irvin hired me last week things got serious, and then today I was able to sign that offer letter and everything. So, made that jump, worked really hard for it. But no, I can officially say that now. So I'm excited, and I appreciate it all, and appreciate having me on, B. Look forward to kind of sharing my path and like I said, sharing the platform with, 5 dudes that I respect really, really well, whether these guys know it or not. I respect these dudes more than they know. So I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Tommy.
awesome. Yeah, congratulations, Tommy.
Congrats, family.
excited.
Congrats.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
Coach. It looks like your boss is logging on, so he just missed the good stuff. So
Oh,
we'll have to run it back for him.
there you go. Make sure it was all good things.
No doubt. So we'll get right into it. We'll kind of just let you guys take turns. Just tell us before we kind of get into some of the nitty gritty. Obviously, Tommy's broken with some great news that we're all excited about, and we know how well of a job he's going to do. We know how much he earned it. So excited for him and looking forward to talking more about that. But let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about the pandemic. Let's talk about the stay at home. We'll start with something funny. We like to usually open with this question of what's something fun or funny that you either learned about yourself, your family. I know Jerry's on his way to having a young one coming in. I know Proctor has a 1.5, 20-month-old daughter. I know Coach Thorne has a new baby. Coach Strine has a new baby. And then Mikhail has a 2-year-old. So I know everybody's kind of in that boat except Mike. I know Mike's just kind of holding out. So we'll let Mike start it first, since all of them are going to be about babies most of the time. Let's let Mike start it out.
I'm behind the curve on that one by far, that's for sure. But no, the pandemic has been an interesting situation, obviously. I think the funniest thing that I've dealt with, and it's been a personal growing experience, and we'll keep it along the lines, is I've had a long distance girlfriend since October, technically. And October 14th is the day, and she won't let me forget it. We're still on that plan where we celebrate the monthly anniversaries, and I've forgotten 2 of them, and she won't let me forget it. So in 3 days will be the next one, so I got to make sure I do that. So I guess that's kind of my funny thing, but it goes deeper than that. By she's helped me a lot know that it's not just about me, and I've been a single guy for 27 years now, or 6 years. And so, I've had my birthday with her. I'll have my second one now. And it's just been an interesting experience. So that, she came down to visit. She's at vet school at Oklahoma State. So she's been stressed about that because, her in-person clinics and all that kind of stuff. She's in her 4th year. So she's been stressed over that. So she came down to visit during this whole time. And now she's back there and doing all her externships and everything. So, that's been the funniest thing, is just realizing that how important yearly or monthly anniversaries are in the first year of a, serious relationship.
I think you probably should say serious. You don't want to say semi anymore.
No. Well, I was going to say long distance, and then, I guess we're not living together or anything like that, but it's as serious as a long distance relationship is. So it's special.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're talking that recruit talk. There you go. That's the way to do it. Anybody can take it from here.
Yeah, guys. So, first and foremost, I see the man that actually gave me my starting coaching, TJ Sane, on the call. So, I just want to say thank you to him. It's an awesome platform, lots of good people on this call. But yeah, with COVID, this whole thing has been, it's been a lot of uncertainty. But honestly, for me, myself personally, it's been really a blessing. It's really gave me time to really slow down and just realize what's important in life and what's not, to really filter out everything that I need moving forward in terms of being the fatherhood, and just preparing myself mentally, preparing my life, to raise a son, and also everything going on in the world in terms of raising the African American in this world, just everything just slowing down and just really giving me some sort of sense of hope and belief and faith for a better future has been kind of awesome for me. So COVID, with all the uncertainty, has been some awesome blessings. So I hope that everybody got an opportunity to really, get attacked to that side of it.
Good stuff, Coach. Good stuff.
I'll go next, I guess. you know, I guess for me, like not really funny stories. Obviously I caught COVID and had a little bit of a battle with it. So not too much funny going on there. But I think one of the things that, you know, I learned the most is just, you know, putting yourself out there, how important that is. You know, with all these Zoom calls and stuff like that, I actually, you know, back in March or whenever this was, like, you know, Brandon Chappelle on our staff was like, hey, like there's a Zoom call tonight with Alvin Brooks and some dudes from Baylor, jump on it. Like, and it was like 5 minutes before. So like I jump on, I had like a backwards hat on, totally not prepared for any of it. And that was one of the first Be Ready that I was ever on. You know, and started to jump on those and was on those, and then got on more, you know, things with, got on more things with Be Ready. And then, you know, Adam, you know, did a great job of letting me do some stuff with Rising Coaches. And I got to know a lot of people through it. You know, Mikkel and I, like, we've never met, and I feel like that's one of my best friends right there, you know, and I've never met him in face to face, but just being through all these Zooms and stuff and building these relationships, you know, and ultimately, you know, being on these Zooms and building these relationships is what got me the Chicago State job. So, you know, it's not really, you know, I guess it's not really a funny story, but I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, I learned to put myself out there and be on these things and get to know people and reach out to people and, you know, it all kind of all paid off in the end. So, you know, it has also been, like Coach said, you know, being able to spend more time with your family, you know, being able to spend time with my daughter, my little girl and my wife, and just how important that is. You also realize how much your wife really loves you when she doesn't want you to go out of the house anywhere and expose yourself to anything, like it's on lockdown. So you kind of learn that a little bit too. But no, I think, you know, I learned a lot about myself during this COVID, man, like just like in general, just, you know, to have confidence in yourself and be able to build relationships and go out and talk to people and be yourself and, you know, and ultimately give, you know, pay it forward to people and, you know, let them know that you care about them and what can you do for them, you know, and then ultimately it comes back to you. So, you know, that's kind of what I learned, you know, through this whole thing.
Awesome.
I'll go next, and I'll kind of piggyback off what Tommy just said. The first thing that I recognized when she said his wife loved him so much, I realized how much my wife doesn't love me.
I had a feeling that was coming.
we were in a one-bedroom apartment, and we're living in Denver, and we decided to move because we need some more space. She was like, "You talk too loud. That I can't work and be around you because you're on the phone all day and you talk too loud." So I found out I speak too loud. I'm on the phone. I don't know why or where that came from. I guess I'm trying to project and enunciate my words. And then I realized my wife doesn't love me as much as I thought I did because she didn't want to be as close to me during this pandemic and lockdown. So those are the two things I learned. But we're still together. We got a kid, so she can't go anywhere now.
That's tough. That's real tough. And you know, that's crazy. You kind of went that way because so this is it's my first year in Cape. I got here in Cape Girardeau, I think end of May, very beginning of June. And I've been married since May of 2018. And since me and my wife have been together total for about 5 years, we've only been in the same city for 2 of those. And so, you know, a lot of this, she's still in Houston. She's a nurse. So she's essential personnel and all that. She sees everything. She's seen what Tommy has gone through, and she sees it every day. And so, you know, I got a little one. And so, you know, I just, like when everything kind of went down, you know, in March with COVID, you know, I was in Houston. And so I had all that time to spend with my munchkin, with my wife. And, you know, I'm able to hop on all the Zooms and everything, you know, no matter what time of day. And now, you know, my wife gets off of work, she picks up the baby from the sitter, 6 o'clock comes, I'm locked in with, you know, I'm on FaceTime with my little one. And so, you know, since just being out here and not really, you know, we haven't had the guys on campus or anything yet. So I love golf. I can't play it, but I love it. So for Father's Day, my wife got me my first set of clubs. So we have like a little mini Top Golf out here in Cape. And I'm like, yo, I'm about to knock these things out the park, man. And I'm whiffing. I cannot hit the ball. There's a stall right next to me. Kid can't be any older than 8. Smacking the ball, 200 yards, just killing it. And I'm trying to hit the ball, and he's giving me tips and I can't hit the ball. And it's the most, you know, I call myself an athlete. Man, I've never been so humble in my life. I cannot hit the ball to save my life. And then some days I can hit it. I can hit driver, but I can't hit like, you know, wedges or anything, and then flip flop. So that's the one thing that I've learned is that I'm not as good as I think I am as an athlete, but I enjoy it. I love the game. So hopefully I'll be able to pick it up and get a little bit better at it.
Yeah, I'll backdoor you on that, Aaron. I am terrible at golf, and I know it, and I stick to my strengths, so I never try and play it. But this quarantine's been good to me, man. I've gotten to spend a lot of time with my wife and my son. You know, we all know as coaches, we never get this time ever. And, you know, been loving every second of it. But about a month in, we were all sick of one another. My son was sick of me. My wife was sick of me. I was sick of her, you know, just the normal. But we're just really, you know, we've grown our relationship a little bit closer to God through our Bible studies and stuff. And on a lot of my Zoom calls, I've stepped outside of my comfort zone because I'm normally just a really laid back to myself person. And then the Be Ready family that I joined just kind of helped all of us just get a voice, you know, a voice that we never knew that we had. So that's been really cool. Something funny, I guess. I had this video I posted last week. So me and my son play basketball in a little tight school every day once I get home from work, and I get home about 5 or 6. So he's shooting and he wants to watch me. I have to shoot the ball 5 times. Every single time I have to shoot it 5 times before he attempts a shot. So I shot the 5th one. He gets his ball, he picks it up, and he's about to go and shoot it. And I just launched it. And for whatever reason, I decided to record it that day. And the way I connected with the ball, it sounded like a volleyball spike. And for whatever reason, that video went semi-viral on Twitter. But yeah, that's my funny story. Just enjoying my family and just my friends and all that stuff.
I love it. I love it, man. Good stuff. I know Tommy kind of talked a little bit about some professional development. So let's add that last part. All of us have been locked inside, need to stay home, stay away from people for a certain amount of time. We're starting to get a lot more back acclimated. What's one thing, if you just had to pick one, and you could say Be Ready again, you could say Zooms, whatever it may be, that you think you really helped add to your tool belt or add to yourself as a leader and a person of impact to young people? Anybody can go in any order.
About this one. I started doing this after timeout special on Twitter. I'm on day 12 right now, and it's something I kind of do at the end of off seasons. Our video coordinator does it every year. And I just kind of started doing, put a little bit of fun to it. So I started studying every team that played in the bubble. And I kind of do like a top 5 of their after timeout plays. And I've been ranking them and doing this. So I've been getting a lot of good feedback from a lot of coaches and stuff that have gained interest in it. So that's something I've done professionally developing. And I've just tried to do a lot of different things to where I have to speaking engagements, so I could just, you know, just work on professional speaking and all that stuff. So just getting outside of my comfort zone with that's been something I've done.
Awesome.
Be Ready's definitely been it's been instrumental. I think that's probably just knowing.
Let's do this. I'm obviously representing for my guys. I've been a part of it as well, and Coach Brooks has been a great friend of mine. Coach Tang has always been somebody I think, you know, every coach has looked up to an extent from his success. But if you don't mind, Aaron, to explain what the Be Ready family is.
So Be Ready is kind of the brainchild of Alvin Brooks III. And, you know, I think we've all known AB for a while. AB was, I've known AB since I was a high school coach down in Houston. And he had just expressed the desire to, like, how can I help guys just, you know, be ready for their next opportunity. And so March, you know, he just had an idea to just, I think if I remember correctly, I think there were maybe 25, 30 people on the first Zoom.
I think it was Damon. Was it Damon Stoudemire, the first one?
Yes.
I think you're right.
First.
I think you're right.
And then from there it's just kind of grown. You know, now, you know, if you're not in the club, you know, if you don't get there before 10, it's hard to get in. And so I think, you know, just
get there. You gotta get the YouTube live.
You gotta get and that's a testament to just how much it's grown, because, you know, now you can watch it on YouTube live and you can see just kind of how it's grown. But I think probably the biggest thing that I've learned from that is just you have to stay doing things. Like you have to be consistently doing it. So like Meek has done a great job with the ATOs, and it's only going to grow because it's constant and it's consistent output, and it's consistent content. And I think that's what's made, it's helped me just in terms of seeing just how you have to be consistent with what you do. And that's how you build your brand. AB is obviously, he's at Baylor, one of the best teams in the country, clearly. But AB has always been kind of a behind the scenes kind of, he speaks softly, but when he speaks, it's important. So now he's got to the point where, and he just can't believe it, but people are reaching out to him as a mentor, just because he's been consistent with his output and with his reach. So I think that's something that I've learned just throughout this entire process, just how to be consistent and just paying attention to what people do and stealing from them, because this is that's what we do in this business. We're gonna steal anyway, in terms of plays and culture and things like that. So that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned thus far.
And let me add to that, with as far as AB goes and Coach Tang and Jareem and all those guys, like I've never met any of those guys face to face, like at all. And I, when you're saying consistency, I just came on the Zoom calls consistently and, ask a question and was trying to be active and, follow up emails and just trying to be out there a little bit. And AB kind of took notice of it and, put me on one of those mock interviews, right? Where Mikhail knocked it out of the park and made me look bad. So, but no, that, and that's ultimately, how I got the job with Lance, with Coach Irvin is he knew that I was on there, thought I did a good job. His sister-in-law Corey's on there all the time, and just like the constant networking of it. But AB and Tang and those guys, like I'm so thankful for those guys, because those guys are just willing to mentor young guys, and those guys want to be head coaches too. So they're trying to I told AB the other day, like, from Zoom 1 to Zoom whatever we are, to Be Ready whatever we are right now, like his speaking skills have like improved 1,000%. Like it's been unbelievable to like watch him develop, but at the same time, like he's wanting us young guys to develop, and he wants everybody on that Be Ready. Like just the selflessness of those guys has really pushed me to be more selfless. I think that's something that I've learned through this pandemic has been, the term, what can I do for you, has become kind of like my personal motto. Like I and when I say it, I genuinely mean it. Like, what can I do for you this week? What can I do for you now? Because there's so many guys above me that are saying the same thing to me. Like, what can I do for you? And I think that what I've learned during this pandemic is, paying it forward to guys, especially younger guys, and as much as I wanted to be an assistant coach, I knew that there was guys out there that wanted to be an operations guy. And kind of learning that a little bit, and as much as you want to, and as much as, the operations guy wants to, or as much as the high school coach wants to be the operations guy, somebody wants to be the head high school coach as well. There's always somebody that wants to be in your shoes, so how do you help them? Because ultimately somebody above you is going to help you. And that kind of started, and I kind of learned that a little bit from the Be Ready stuff. And then obviously, Adam gave me an awesome opportunity. I actually approached Adam and was like, hey, like, I'm bored. Like, can I do something? And, he kind of helped me out with the think tank, where it was just an idea of like these younger guys, like these guys are, GAs, video coordinators, managers, like they're in all these meetings, right? But they never get to really speak up and kind of have their voice heard, like in like being able to draw stuff up on a board, or like, being able to learn stuff with, resume building or something like that. And so like, I thought, maybe I can pay it forward a little bit, and give these guys an opportunity to draw up an ATO. What would that guy do? What would this, and video coordinators, I was a former video coordinator. I watched more film probably than anybody in our office, right? Like I'm seeing game, like, but I never get to draw it up on a board during a meeting, or I never get to like, project it, so giving those guys that kind of opportunity, and that kind of grew, and then being out on social media, that kind of helped. And then, I started the Scouting Report U, which was like, as guys come through the business, like they got to put together a scouting report, right? And how many guys have ever put together a scouting report if you're a manager, a GA, or a video coordinator, or something like that. So, giving them the opportunity to kind of watch film and learn that. And then, obviously I think collaborating is a big deal. Like, I can learn from anybody. I can learn from a middle school coach as much as a middle school coach can learn from me, so being able to do that, so just different opportunities. And I think the biggest thing that, guys on this call can kind of learn too, through this pandemic is like, right now, never say no, like never big time somebody, never say no to somebody. I think, I think Mike Lopez is on here. He hit me up early and like was like, "Hey, can I get you on my podcast?" And yeah, like I have no problem going on anybody's podcast and talking to them and telling my story. And if 10 people hear it, 10 people hear it. If 110 people hear it, 110 people hear it. But just kind of getting your name out there, I think was big. But no, all those things I think have been good to me. But the biggest thing that I've learned and tried to reciprocate a little bit is just paying it forward. And what can I do for you? And I think that that's probably the biggest thing that I learned through this pandemic is it's not about me. It's about who I can help. And ultimately somebody will help you and reciprocate it a little bit. So.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Tommy. I think we got a couple more guys on that one, and then we'll switch to the next question.
And I'm gonna jump on now and just say I don't think there's anyone out here that hasn't won quarantine more than Tommy Strine. The stuff you've done has been inspirational. And I know you and I think we met when I was at a volunteer D3 at St. Mary's, and you were at the Dobo at American. So you and I have had kind of this long distance relationship. I must be really good at long distance relationships.
Right.
The master. Hey, if it makes you feel better, me and my wife, the first time we ever lived in the same place was after we got married. So if it makes you feel better and some encouragement, there you go.
Well, she's actually said that, so she's big on that. So, she might be right. But something that I've kind of learned in an ops role, you always, I guess, try to see the problems that could occur and, what could go wrong, and obviously hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And so in this pandemic, with everything that's been going on, I've just tried to just be more positive, like obviously be realistic with the troubles that are going on and the people that are going through tough times. I tested positive as well, and, didn't have to deal with it nearly as difficult as Tommy did. But, I had some severe symptoms that I was able to get through, and obviously feeling great now. So I think just staying positive through all this in hopes that, things are going to get back to normal sooner rather than later, projecting positivity into the atmosphere, I think is a big thing, because as we're not living our daily lives as coaches or as ops or any position that you're in right now, I feel like sometimes you can get to thinking a little too much, if that kind of makes sense, and start overanalyzing certain things negatively. Obviously, you can do it positively as well. And that's why I say that is just using this time to see the good things that could potentially come out of this, to get ideas and to give ideas on how we can move forward in a positive way so we can get back to our normal sooner rather than later. I think it's been really big for me.
No, great stuff, Mike, and definitely has put himself out there. He's, again, a lot of guys I've met, I haven't met Tommy in person yet. I haven't met Mike in person yet. So a lot of that happens during the pandemic too. And Mike's been very, very high motor with what he's been doing, and just hosted a big time Zoom Sunday with assistant from Texas Tech and head coach at Auburn. So he's doing big things as well with his spare time. We'll end it with you, JB. And then second question after that will just be, what team do you think is going to win it all in the bubble, and why? You only have 30 seconds to answer that. Then we'll go to the next.
You can't just pass over me like that, Brian.
I'm going after Mikal because Mikal studies it more than anybody else. So I'm just going to pick whoever he picks. So
we got Dwight and Jerry. You knew you were next. D. We got that Dallas connection.
Yeah, for me during this time, I've done a lot of work on people that I directly impact, our guys. I've watched a lot of film on our team, and just trying to figure out ways that I can help them on a day-to-day basis with their game, and from a player development standpoint, just really dissecting our team inside and out. We had a rough year last year, so we don't want to do that again. So we've been doing a lot as a staff, just trying to figure out ways we can make these dudes better. And also not just from a basketball point of view, also from, a personal point of view. Like each of you said, this is a hard time for a lot of people in this country. And, our guys, they're not able to compete with their teammates. A lot of these dudes, that's all they know is being able to compete with teammates and having that support system around them. Right now, that support system's kind of been, taken away from them. So just being there for them from a mental health standpoint, if that's texting them or getting on FaceTime with them, or, what's funny is, I'll text them of our guys, and then they'll FaceTime me, which at first I thought was kind of weird, but, honestly, that's just what these guys like to do. So I've adapted that pretty good here, but, it's been a good process, just kind of, taking it upon myself to try to figure out ways that I can impact the guys that I directly had interactions with on a day-to-day basis.
JB, you better than me, man. When my guys FaceTime me, I cancel and call them back. I can't. But for me, the two things I've probably done most in this quarantine to try to help myself. One, personally, is just schedule my time out. Right, I've always had a task list, but I've started to schedule out what I want to do based on time and try to block my schedule so I can be more productive in a condensed amount of time. With as many distractions that we have working from home, that really helped me in terms of getting my stuff done and still being productive. And the second thing I've done, and Adam Hood helped me with this, is I've taken a deep dive in analytics, and I saw Hoodie on the call. Taking a deep dive in analytics to just see, what we can do from a team aspect to give us a chance to compete with the championship level teams in our league. And that's been real beneficial. Try to get our head coach on board with it. It's been a slow process, but he's slowly coming around. But I think analytics is huge in the game. And as we continue to progress with it, I think the people who understand it will be ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Shout out to Hoodie, one of the best when it comes to this college game as far as on the court and off the court. But he's definitely becoming the analytics guy, and that's what we love. He's definitely done a great job as well as anybody. He didn't get a new raise like Tommy did in the new promotion, but I think he's been as phenomenal as anybody, just being active and being present. And obviously he's a part of Coaches for Change, just like Tommy is as well. But I think big shout out to Hoodie, because he's doing big things and making an impact behind the scenes. He's not necessarily in front of the scenes, but he's making big impacts. So I want to give him his flowers. So, yeah, what team in the bubble do you believe is going to win it all, and why? You got 30 seconds. Go.
There's King James. That's it.
Nuggets, because of the Joker.
Let's keep it West Coast, the Clippers.
You got to tell us why, JB. I know you West Coast through and through, but
Paul George, baby. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Gardner on the wing, Patrick Beverly. They got dogs. Dogs went in the playoffs.
Spoken from the dog. If y'all don't know how JB was at Fresno, JB was a dog at Fresno. Santa Clara, he was still a dog. He was like a polished, like edge up, crispy. You know what I mean? Kind of dog. You know what I mean?
Our dog, baby.
Oh, you're gonna be a homer for the guy Paul George in the Fresno State Bulldogs, but I gotta say Lakers just because LeBron James, I think, he's still the best. He's slowing down a little bit right before our eyes, but he's still the best.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Lakers too, man. And LeBron, he hits this low every year. Every year the teams, everybody's trying to figure out, man, is LeBron the same? Is he slowing down? Then he turns it on in the playoffs. So I gotta go with the Lakers.
I'm gonna go with the Nuggets because
wow, for the Nuggets. Wow.
Anyone else said the Nuggets, but I'm born and raised in Denver, so I'm a Nuggets fan through and through. As long as they're playing, I can't root against them. So purely because that's who I want to be cheering for. But also, they almost beat the Lakers with Joker, Porter, and all them on the bench for pretty much the whole fourth quarter. So, and Braun was playing. So, I think we got a shot.
That's good. I like it. So everybody that's on the call, feel free to put who you vote for in the chat, get a little conversation going. Let's go one more NBA topic. Who is your favorite player to either watch or just support, and why? One more round.
That's it.
I got to go Tyler Johnson. Obviously I played with him in college, and we grew up in the same area. Just following. I don't know if anybody on this call, if you haven't got a chance to follow his career or look at his background, look where he came from undrafted to really not really being recruited at a high level, second team all conference to carving out, $50,000 contract, $50 million contract. His story is pretty amazing. So just a tough, hard-nosed dude. Is okay in everything really, but he just got a big heart. So if anybody on this call get a chance to look at his background, you'll be amazed.
And you'll know that used to be his roommate because he gave some of that dog to him. You know what I mean?
Keep it bulldog, baby.
No doubt, no doubt.
I'm a Jokic fan, so mostly because he plays at the same pace that I play at in my men's league games, and with the same effort running up and down the floor that I do. So I have a lot in common with him. But no, I love Jokic, just the way that 7 foot, talented, skilled guy, that kind of can do everything. And I love his demeanor and the kind of the way he goes about himself too. So I'm a big Jokic fan.
So it's been really fun seeing my old teammate Daniel House. He starts with the Rockets. Just kind of seeing his journey. Wasn't drafted, bounced around in the G League for a while, on a couple two-way contracts, and he's kind of cemented his spot with that Rockets team. So it's been really fun just to kind of see how much better he's gotten every year and how he's just a premium NBA player on a potential championship team. So it's been really fun seeing his journey.
Well, I wasn't really a big Damian Lillard fan. I'm not gonna he can hoop clearly, right? But I just wasn't. You got your preference for guys or whatever. But the comments that he made after the Clippers game the other day, unbelievable amount of respect for him because of just I think if you're gonna talk your mess, that's how you do it. Right. It was so it was eloquent.
With a mask on too. With a mask on.
Yeah, it was real focused, and it was real nuanced. And so that just made me I just started paying attention to him a lot more. And in the bubble, everybody, I think every team at some point has scored 140 points since they've been in the bubble. But just watching him and how he comes off with pick and rolls, and they're running like away screens for him, damn near at half court. He's pulling up I think he's really fun to watch. Just that it really kind of changed. But Devin Booker right now, or just kind of since he's been in the league, it's just seeing him, what he's doing right now is unbelievable.
Dame Lillard talked the other day, like you said, it was so eloquent, no doubt about it. Yeah. For me, I'm gonna keep it with one of my teammates from college, kind of like JB and Gail. Alec Burks. I'd like to see him in Philadelphia right now doing his thing, so I hope they can make a deep playoff run. But that's my young fella. He was a freshman when I was a senior in college.
So I would pick Jokic, but I don't want to copy everything Tommy Strine does. But I've really enjoyed watching Porter Jr. play now that he's, kind of doing, I think, what people thought he could always do, but never really got the chance to because of the, the hardships he's dealt with. So on a, personal level, it's always fun for me to see someone who has gone through that type of adversity come back and be successful. But I also think he's just balling, so.
Yeah, TJ in Indiana and Michael Porter may be the biggest surprises of the bubble so far. So great choices. I like, Mike, that you kept it with Denver. I love the shout out to the old teammates. That's big time. So we'll see. So part of the D1 life, so we're going to keep it fun. Part of the D1 life we're going to talk about is the transition or even just the behind the scenes of Division I. You guys have all made that move from whatever you were before to being a D1 staff member, right? Wherever you were doing before. Maybe you were a player. Maybe you were still playing overseas. Maybe you were in the NBA, wherever it may be. Maybe you were a tennis coach / pro assistant. But whatever you were doing before, you got on the Division I staff. And so people always think that's so glamorous. And so behind the scenes is a lot of the blue-collar work, the grunt work, the nuts and bolts of the program. I was in a director of operations position for a year at Fresno State. alma mater of Jerry Brown. And I was blessed to make the transition back. I was at Lamar, where Tommy just left as an assistant for Tig Price, then went to an ops spot, and then went back to an assistant spot. So we'll talk more about that. And everyone on this call, I think I've already said this, I think they will make that transition to being an assistant coach like Tommy just did, like Dwight has done, like Jerry's done. But quick recruiting pitch. You have 1 minute to sell someone on this call of why they should come to your school. So we'll start with the two guys that are in that position. So we'll go with Dwight. He's going into year 3, right? Or no, year 2. You're going to year 2, so is Jerry. So we'll go with the two vets first. I'll go with Dwight just because he's from Dallas. I know he's going to represent. So you gotta recruit right now. And Caleb. Caleb is on this call. He's sitting on the couch. He's ready. He's locked in. You got his full attention. He's got some options, right? He can really get some buckets, and he fills the spot you need. You need a combo guard. He's that dude. You got a minute to sell him on Denver and why you should come. Go.
All right, Caleb, I will give you a few reasons why I think the University of Denver can be a good fit for you. I think, one, Denver is one of the most sought-after cities to live in the country, right? And when you're in Denver, you're not too far from the city. You're only 10 minutes south of the city. So even though you're on a college campus, you get the college feel, you are still 10 minutes away from going to watch the Broncos play, the Nuggets play, and the Avalanche play. The second thing is, I think we combined an elite level of athletics and academics, being a top 100 institution in the world, business school top 10, law school top 10. And I think the third most important thing that I'd like to speak about is how our head coach has done what you are trying to do, right? He's walked in your shoes. He's sat in the classroom. He's played on the same courts. And he has won at the highest level at the University of Denver. So when you think about anybody who can tell you how to do things or can walk you through how to be successful at the university, what better than a person who's graduated and played basketball and went on to have a professional career as well.
Big time. Caleb, what you got, man? You signing up? What you got, man?
I don't know. I got to weigh my options. Duke in Kentucky was calling this morning, so I got to listen to what they're saying too. But Denver sounds real good. I might have to give y'all some love for sure.
Yeah, if I gotta compete with Duke in Kentucky, man, I'm gonna pack my toys up and go home.
Well, we're gonna circle back. We're gonna give him about 2-3 minutes, and we're gonna come back and see if he's made his decision yet. We're gonna see. Maybe Dwight can put him over the top. So Jerry, you got to sell. Let's see, we got Tim Pete. You know, Tim Pete's he's a combo forward, plays inside, outside. Remind you a little bit of yourself, maybe with a little more bounce, maybe not quite as dog. So you're going to be able to add some dog to him. But you guys need that position in San Diego. You got to be able to sell him in 1 minute. Go.
That sounds like Tim Pete is a high major player. We a mid-major program, which is fine. You know, the thing about our program that's unique is that we got a chance. We play against 2 perennial top 25 teams every year. We play against Gonzaga and St. Mary's, and also, you know, you can throw BYU in that equation as well. The thing about all those programs that is funny, you know, is if you look back at those programs 25 years ago, they weren't what you see now today. Gonzaga wasn't, you know, top 5 program. St. Mary's wasn't top 25 program before Randy Bennett came in there and changed it around. But what he did was he brought in some guys like Tim Pete that had talent, that came in and believed in what he was building there. So if you want to come to a program where you can, you know, build your legacy and eventually be the person that started a dynasty, then come to San Diego. Now, if you want to go somewhere to just kind of piggyback and, you know, just be another player, you know, they probably got a spot for you down at St. Mary's or Gonzaga. So, you know, the choice is on you, brother.
I like it. You went with the smooth, you know what I mean? You went the smooth approach. I like it. What you got? What you got, Tim?
Yeah, I visited all those other places, man. I'd rather be in the sun every day, 365 days of the year.
That means you in.
I'm in.
You in. We good. We clapped that up. We got one.
That's actually been what we're trying to get away from. You know, Cats come to San Diego.
Hey, give me more
You
days to
coming for the
work.
wrong reasons.
Hey, look, I don't have to wear no bubble coats to go to the gym anymore. I can keep my shorts on. I can just get out the car and go right to work.
Hey, as long as you going to work, I'm good.
I have my stuff on in the car, ready to go. I don't have to go to the locker room anymore. I'm good.
Good. All right.
JP, I got some Suge Knight vibes from that pitch, man.
Hey, that's exactly where I got it from, baby. Come to the show.
That's exactly how I felt.
West Coast, that West Coast. Let's go Proctor next. You've been an assistant Division II in junior college. You've done this pitch. You got to sell Brant on how he needs to come in. He's a big fella. He's holding down the paint. He probably is an all-conference level MVP type of big man. He's got lots of options, but at the end of the day, he wants to go where he feels most comfortable. So let's see if you got something for him to feel comfortable.
Brant, man, the great thing about being at Cape and being at SEMO is you be playing for a guy who's basically walked in the shoes that you're trying to walk in. He was in the Valley, 3 Sweet 16s as a player, 3 Sweet 16s as a coach, and he's been able to, basically put together a staff who are like him, like we're all dogs. The OVC is a place where it gets kind of overlooked just because you got the Ja Morants and you got, the Belmonts and all that stuff. But, we got Antonius Cleveland, who's made it to the league as well, and who's at a great level of success with the Mavericks. But we also, as a league, have put in, outside of the Power Five, the most draft picks since 2000. So if being a dog and getting to the league is something that you aspire to do, well, then we absolutely have the facilities, we got the locale, we have the foresight to help you get there. But all in all, we want to create a world-class experience for you as a student athlete and provide for you an opportunity to achieve all those things that you want. And being at that 4 or 5 spot, I know you can hit that 3. I know you can put the ball on the deck. We'll have that opportunity for you, especially being able to spread the floor out and allow you to be who we know you are. Aside from that, probably the biggest thing for you is you'll be able to create a legacy here. Kate, they're starving for a winner. And you absolutely have the shoulders to put us on your back and help us get there. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to coach you, and hopefully you'll take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, legacy coach. Let's build something special.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
We're 2 for 2 with 1 is pending out there. We got 1 that's pending. We're going to circle back to Caleb. Okay, so we'll go next to Tommy. Tommy's just accepting his assistant coach position. We know he'll do phenomenal. We got Carter Heston at the bottom. And I know he looks like he may not be a baller, but he's leaning back, he's chilling. But that's just how good he is. He got that cool vibe. He plays the point. He can get his guys involved, can make any 3 from anywhere on the court. Looks to pass first. You just talked about a lot of serving earlier as a coach, so you guys can connect on that. But, man, he's about winning. He plays with a headband. He's got the old school Pete Maravich type game, so you got to sell him. Ready, set, go.
Carter, man, I worked a long time to get an assistant coaching job. Sacrificed a lot. My wife, she's been the breadwinner my entire career. We've moved around to 6 cities in 6 years. So you were the first phone call I made when I got my assistant job, right? I'm not bringing in anybody to the table to my new boss that I'm not totally confident in can be a program changer. So that's why you were my first call. You're the first guy that I thought of, and so, I want you to be the first recruit that I ever bring in as an assistant coach. I want you to be the first guy I bring in, because I think that when you get here, you're going to see just how much Coach Irvin believes that Chicago State can turn it around and make an NCAA tournament. But it's going to start with guys like you. And so I'm really excited to get you to campus. I believe, and I'm speaking it into existence that you're coming. I'm speaking that into existence. And at the end of the day, it's going to be about relationships. And I feel like I built a really good relationship with you and your high school coaches and the people that are close to you. Because over these next 4 years, when we're holding up a trophy, we're going to remember, we're going to remember our talks. We're going to remember everything that happened in the office, everything that happened outside of basketball. I don't worry about you working hard in any of the basketball stuff. You know, my most important thing is getting to know you, and I've loved getting to know you. But like I said, you know, you're going to be my first one that I bring in, and one that, you know, will always forever have that connection. So I look forward to getting you here. Like I said, I'm not giving you an option. I'm speaking into existence, and I look forward to having you be a Cougar, man. So I'm going to go ahead and call Coach Irvin, let him know that you're coming, and we'll see you here. We'll see you here next year. All right, man.
Hey, Carter, I'm going to add this in there. He can't say this because it looks like an impermissible benefit, but they got some brand new headbands out there, too, you're going to love, all right? What you think, Carter?
I'm all in to come change the culture.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. All right, we got a few left. Let's go down to H-Town. We got a guy who's won several American championships, so he knows what being a champion is all about. We got the gentleman on my screen right below you, Mr. Olinger, just big-time Cal Korver level shooter. You know, we know Coach Sampson loves to shoot threes. We know he likes guys that are tough and hard-nosed. He's got the total package when it comes to that. He's got some other top 25 programs recruiting him, but he does like warm weather. So let's see what you got.
Cohen, man, I could sit here and I could sell you on Houston being one of the largest cities in America, the diversity we have here, our academic programs and all the things we do, just striving for excellence. But it's just so much more that we offer you here. The first thing I'll just talk about is just family, the importance of family. Everyone says it, you know, everybody just always huddles it up in the end of the day and say family, but we really mean it here. Like, we're to the level where, like, we want to know what you're doing, not smothering you, you know, but we want to make sure you're taken care of at all times. And Coach Sampson's just really big on that. You know, his son is on staff, his daughter's on staff. Two of his three assistant coaches are former players. I'm one of his former players, so I can fully relate just knowing that he takes care of you. I was with Houston when we weren't that good. You know, I've been there through the struggle, and I've been here for the successes. We won back-to-back conference championships, and just knowing the level shooter that you are, I mean, you'll be perfect in our system. We like to play really, really fast. We really like to space the floor, 4 out, 1 in, and we just set a lot of pick and rolls. So you can get a lot of opportunities to get your threes off of shake opportunities, off of staggers, off of elevators, and you're going to get time to showcase your skills. In our conference, we're going to play against top 25 teams at least 6 or 7 times. You're going to play against Memphis, you're going to play against Cincinnati, SMU, and you're going to get a chance to showcase your talent against everybody else. And you're going to have a chance to, if you're good enough to play at the next level, you're going to get that opportunity. And our player development system here, we're going to make sure, you know, you might come in, you might not be that strong of a defender yet, you know, but we play a team defense role where you'll be able to have people load into the ball at all times. We're going to put you in situations where you could be successful. You know, we're not going to hide. We're not going to, you know, we're going to highlight your strengths and we're going to hide your weaknesses. But, you know, just seeing the success you had this past year, we know that you're going to be outstanding for us already. I can't wait to have you here. You know, we've already won back-to-back championships, but we haven't made it to the Sweet 16. We haven't advanced past it yet. And I think once you join our program, we might have a chance to do that.
Ready to sign that dotted line.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Another one. I love it. As DJ Khaled said, another one. All right. I think we got almost everybody covered. Mike, you're up next. We got Jacob straight from the Valley. All right, straight from the Valley. So he knows all about burning boats. He's literally burned boats, okay? So he fits in Richie Riley's mentality. He's definitely a guy at the stretch 4 position who can make trail threes, but he also has some back to the basket game. He's got some ruggedness to him. He's got that Valley toughness. Again, he's burned some boats and probably burned some other things. So we're going to keep that off the record. But he's the type of guy that you want to have in your program because he's about winning. You know, he's got a different type of toughness, kind of like the Joker, but not as good of a passer, more of a 3-point shooter. So you can relate. So let's see what you got.
That sounds good. Well, I don't know if I'm competing against Coach Brown, but I'll say that our beaches have warm water, and we're about an hour and a half away from arguably the nicest ones in the country. So you're going to spend 11 months out of the year in shorts and a T-shirt and you know, no snow or anything like that. I'll say that we don't just play Power Fives. You know, as a mid-major, we compete against Power Fives. Coach brings in guys to do that, and you're on his list at the top to do that. And not only do we play, but they come to us. This year we had Auburn at our place in our 10,000 seat arena, and it was sold out, set an attendance record at 10,068. lost by 1. Maybe with you, we get that win. Next year, we have Alabama come to our spot. And then we go to Auburn next year. So we play Texas A&M. We play the SEC, and we need a guy like you to put us on that level to beat one of those guys. You're not going to play for a coach that's going to care about you more. You're not going to play for a coach that doesn't have any more energy. My boss is one of the best up and coming coaches in the country. He brings the juice every day at practice. He demands the best out of you, and he doesn't let you get away with not giving your best. And not every day are you going to like him as a person, but you're going to know deep down the reason why he's getting on to you is because he wants the best for you, and he wants you to accomplish the dreams and goals that you say that you want. And he's not going to let you get away with doing things that aren't going to support that goal. So, we want you to come down here. We've had one of the top recruiting classes in the conference the last 2 years, our 2 years here. And with you, we'll stay up there.
Coming from the Valley, I'm used to the beaches, so I'm looking forward to I can do more beaches, the different scenery. So I think that's all you had to say to get me to go there was some more beaches.
He sounds like Tim. I don't know, Jerry. I don't know, Mike. You got to keep them focused. You may get a little distracted out there, but you got the commitment. So now the drum roll, like we did for Tommy earlier. We're going back to Caleb. Caleb, what you got for us?
I'm gonna show UD some love, and I'm gonna commit tonight.
Let's go. I know you got to make your video and do your graphics and all that, but we appreciate you breaking the news here, man. We appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Let's do this, man. Great job, fellas. Let's do this. Let's talk about just one aspect behind the scenes. Again, we see the tournament. People see the tournament. They see the glamour of what looks like which it is a great profession, it is a great game, but it's much harder than what people think. So for younger guys on the call, guys at different levels, guys anywhere, tell us one thing that you've experienced or that you think is an underrated, maybe undervalued, but really important part of the role that you guys have played in the D1 life behind the scenes. I'll let Coach Proctor go first.
The biggest thing, that I've seen is just balancing everything. When I was at K-State, I did a lot of observing and a lot of watching, just kind of how people moved and the things that they kind of had to do with their jobs. That was one of those years, they were trying to get us out of there. Fan base, we had fire Bruce Weber signs in the back of the, during the games and all that. But people and coaches even in general don't have an idea of just how much you have to balance and you might have a kid who's unhappy with his playing time, and then you have budget issues, and then you have, you got to get the schedule. You're probably scheduling maybe 1, 2, 3 years out. Like there's so many different things that have nothing to do with basketball that impact your program. And so I try to tell people who, especially young guys who want to get into college coaching or just coaching or even education, period, that you'll spend, 2, 3, maybe 4 hours a day on the basketball stuff, like squarely on the basketball. Everything else has nothing to do with basketball. It's probably more important because you have to really balance personalities. You got to balance personalities of your players. You got to balance personalities of your coaches. You have to deal with compliance. You have to deal with your academic personnel. And there's so many different things that go into that. So the basketball stuff is really, really a small part of it in terms of just being able to manage your program. And even, it's my first year as a Dobo, but I feel like, being a junior college assistant, being a D2 assistant, even being a high school head coach, that's practically what I've been doing. I've been a Dobo for a while because you're managing all those different things, and you got to make sure that you're able to kind of, like Mike said, see those issues before they present themselves. So hopefully they don't get to the head coach so that he can focus on basketball as much as he can.
No, that's big time. And I haven't talked much about everybody yet, but I'll say, so Coach Proctor, I think I met Coach back when I was at Lamar. He was a high school coach in the city of Houston, but knew about him when he was at Kansas State, from knowing Alvin Brooks III and from also knowing Marlon Lowe, who's a good friend of mine, who Coach Proctor did some AAU work for. But he worked for a great friend of mine, Justin Bailey. At one point in time, we were both kind of in between jobs looking. I actually was going to hire Aaron as an assistant if I was blessed to get a head coaching job that I interviewed for. Didn't work out, but somebody I'm a huge fan of, and he's going to do great things at his new position. And again, we'll be an assistant coach soon. So
That was a long summer, boy.
It was a long summer. Whoever wants to go next, feel free.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I learned from my career is just loyalty to the program. I think that if you're loyal to the program, to the student athlete, to the coaches, to the community, to the fans, to everybody, I think that you're gonna work hard because you want to see the program grow. You're gonna give it your all, and everything else gonna come from that. So as long as you're loyal to the program, loyal to the community, loyal to the coaches, everything will work itself out.
Yeah, I'll piggyback what JB said.
I'm gonna give JB a little bit of a hard time because I work with JB. I know TJ Saints on the call. You talked about him hiring you. I worked with JB at UTEP and had a great time working with him. Definitely knew when I worked with him that this dude's gonna really do some great things because of his character and his work. But tell us a work aspect, because loyalty is kind of a assumed thing. So I don't want to make it seem like, again, for guys that don't know the Division I level, how challenging it is. Tell us one more aspect outside of loyalty that you would say, because you've done it in a short amount of time. You went from NBA intern to UTEP in a non-coaching position, non-glamorous position. Now you even went to Stanford for a short stint, maybe a month, and then you got hired as an assistant coach. So tell us a little bit, one more thing, if you don't mind.
I think it boils down to relationships. Just me coming in any situation that I had, building relationships around the top dogs from the people who were considered lower than I am. Just building those relationships, and at the end of the day, just giving them my all. Any position that I had, if that's from wiping sweat, off the Detroit Pistons ground, that's what I had to do. And that was probably the most humbling experience for me. Just to give you a little background, my first job was working in Detroit as an intern for TJ Say in the video room. And, I was coming off of playing professional basketball, playing overseas, and D1 at a pretty high level. And, that was humbling. Now going from being the person who have everybody serving him, essentially, now being the servant. And, that was humbling. But, honestly, that was the best thing that happened for me in my career, because, now when I got to UTEP and I had to work for Rodney Terry, when he asked me to do somewhat of the grunt work, I was already equipped to do it because I did it already for a year at a high level. And, when I got to Stanford, I had to, break up film or do whatever. I already did that every night, in Detroit where it's cold. And I was already built for it. So, that experience, really being an intern in the video room for Stan Van Gundy, TJ Saint, really got me ready for the rest of my career. And, it really, built that mental toughness that it takes to be in this business.
Awesome. Go down to H-Town. So Coach talked about it earlier, how he got me some wins back at John Lucas Elite Camp. That's where I first met Coach. He was, I want to say, I'm pretty sure he was in junior high. He might have been in 8th grade. And he was tall, slim, had a little bit of game. Me and Jay Lucas were working the same station. Like, who's this young cat right here, man? So he don't remember. We had a good time at that camp. He did help me get some wins. I'll give him that. But no, I'm excited to hear from him, and he's going to do great things in this business. So go ahead and tell us what you think.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking on what JB said. One of the most important things I've learned in my 4th year here at Houston is just kind of being where your feet are. That's something I try to live by every single day, because it's so easy just to get caught up in the whirlwind of seeing where other people are getting hired at or going for different positions and not, just getting so close and losing it. So it's just really hard to just kind of lose faith. And then you just kind of, you start working towards what's next as opposed to taking care of your business where you're at, you know? So I just try to always really focus on, you know, branching out and doing other things, but just really focusing on what I'm doing here at Houston. But just a funny story on sacrifice. I was a GA for 1 year because I started my master's when I was a player. So I finished my GA year, and my first year on staff as a player development coach, my first job was, we started in June, we got back in June, and we hired a chef for the summer, right? And this wasn't like somebody who does like training tables. Like this was somebody that was going to come and do our breakfast every morning. But for whatever reason, that chef got sick or something, right? He was out for the entire month. And I'll never forget this. It was Sunday evening at 5 o'clock. The strength coach called me and he said, "Hey, do you know how to make eggs?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, what do you mean? And he was like, "Can you make eggs in the morning just for like 2-3 days, you know, until our guy gets back, you know, we'll be fine." So I was like, "All right, bet, cool." So I go to the store that night, go to Sam's Club. We pick up 4 cases of eggs. We got bacon. We got a few things. It was just like casual stuff. We had some griddles and all that stuff. And I wish I had a picture of this, but we're making eggs and bacon, right? So the first 2-3 days is going by. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to branch off. Come to find out the guy's not coming the entire month. So the strength coach was like, "Hey, you know, this is really last minute. I really appreciate it. You can kind of just take over. It's going well." So me and the GA at the time, we ended up cooking breakfast at 6 a.m. So workout started at 6:45. We were there at 6 a.m. every day. I got there at 5:30, and I cooked breakfast for a month. So our Mondays was just bacon, egg, and cheese, all that bacon, egg, and cheese sausage. Tuesdays was Taco Tuesdays. Wednesday was Waffle Wednesdays. Thursdays was something else, I forgot. And then Fridays was pork chops. And I can't make this up, y'all. I'm talking about like on this tiny little heat griddle that you get from like H-E-B or Walmart for $20. We over there frying. We making pork chops. We making eggs. We making grits. And you know what I'm saying? I didn't get compensated a penny for it, you know, but obviously I was just trying to help the team out. But I was really humbled at that point because, you know, my GA year, I was humbled a lot. And I'm thinking I'm full-time, I'm big time. I'm getting all the tweets and stuff congratulating me. And then I'm frying eggs in the morning. Like, come on. But I think that's just always being selfless and just doing whatever the team needs, no matter what the task is. It's just something just really important, just to just grasp your role and just be really a leader at what you do.
I'm gonna kind of piggyback off Mikal. Like, well, first off,
I was gonna say too. Hopefully, you're really elite at making eggs. I guess you were, since you got the job extended.
Hey, let me just say this. The chef came and they asked if I could keep making eggs and everything else. I was in my bag.
I love it. Yeah. So as far as elite at what he does, he's one of the elite. Again, just support role guys in the business. He's going to be an elite assistant coach. One of my close friends, Bilal Batley, is on staff there, and we talk about young fella all the time, and how the great things he's going to do. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt your time. Go ahead, tell us yours.
No, you're good. You're good. You know, and you know, he kind of, you know, Mikal kind of said it, you know, being where your feet are, man. And that dude right there, like, I'm telling you right now, like, I'm going to be working for that dude someday. Like, that dude's like Mikal, like, you know, and it gets frustrating, and it's easy for me to say now that, you know, like, you know, whatever, but like, being where your feet are is so important. And I had to learn that, because I would get frustrated all the time. Like, you know, like you're saying, like, you finish second, you feel like you're better than the guys that are getting the jobs and stuff like that. But, you know, like B just said, man, I'm going to be working for you someday. So just don't forget about me, man. Cause your time's coming, man. You're big time. So, you know, and kind of piggyback, you know, kind of off of him, you know, one of the big things is like, you know, you got to sacrifice. My first job in this business, I was a video coordinator at Richmond, and I made no money. I got 2 meal swipes a day in the cafeteria. You know, my first 3 weeks there, I slept I got an apartment finally, and I slept on the floor. I didn't even have an air mattress or anything, but like, I slept on the floor in the shoe closet, my first couple weeks there. And then, you know, and thank God Coach Mooney is such a great dude that, like, he would take me to dinner just so I would have a third meal a day, or take me to lunch every day, so I had a third meal every day. So, you know, you had to sacrifice there, and that's in the A-10, but that was the way to get my foot in the door. And, you know, then I went to American as the Dobo, and didn't make a ton of money. So I drove Uber. Like, so I drove Uber while I was working as a Division I Dobo. Right. You know, and so, you know, you sacrifice quite a bit to try to get your foot in the door, and you just, how bad do you want it? And I think the people that sacrifice just as much is your family. You know, my wife has sacrificed so much, Mike's talking about long distance relationships, and find yourself a good woman that's willing to sacrifice and chase your dreams with you for sure. My wife's been unbelievable in as far as, she's been the breadwinner for a long time, and she wanted to have a family, and she wanted to be close to home, but she was willing to, sacrifice and go and work and everything. So those things are big. And then, I think the one thing to really think about though is your relationship building. As a Dobo, your hands aren't just on the players, right? Your hands aren't just on, the people directly affecting you directly in your office. Like you're responsible for, everything across campus, as far as, the business office, the SID department, you're trying to get people in housing. So you can't be a jerk. That's like the biggest thing is a lot of times, nobody really knows why. Like your head coach will always ask, why can't we do this? Or why can't we do that? Or your assistant, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? And you honestly might not know. So you got to go find the answers, right? A lot of times, and so being a good person in the relationship aspect of it all and being able to build relationships with people all across campus, is really, really important, I think, and something that, it kind of goes undervalued, I think, a little bit in the ops roles and in the video roles. And ultimately, I think that helps you as you're making your transition to an assistant coach, because at the end of the day, as you're recruiting, everybody says the first thing with recruiting is having relationships with people. And if you're an elite relationship builder as an operations guy, I think that you can be an elite, relationship builder as an assistant coach as well. So, kind of all those things, kind of like all these guys said, you just got to be willing to sacrifice, like coach said, wiping up sweat on the floor, what can you do during practice that's legal, that shows the players that you're invested, right? Guys, a lot of times players aren't going to see a lot of the stuff that you do. They know that you do flights, but they don't know everything that went into it. They know that you do meals, but they don't know everything that went into it. They know you do all that stuff, but they don't really know what's all going into it. So what can you do during practice to show just how much you're invested, so that way they appreciate you even more? And that's wiping up sweat. That's running to the locker room and grabbing an extra pair of shoes for them when they blow out. That's, making sure that you're there first to wipe up the, to mop the floor before the managers are. That's, during a 6 a.m. practice, being the first one there and making sure that, all those guys have breakfast or something like that, making sure that the Gatorades are always filled in the locker room. Just the small things that you can do to be a servant, and I think that's the word that, as an operations guy, as a behind the scenes guy, you really, really need to, focus on is that you are a servant. And as you work your way up, don't forget that, everybody can be a servant, and how important that is.
Yeah, that's awesome, Tommy. Definitely the relationships across campus cannot go understated, undervalued, because you're representing everyone in the program. And again, the guys on this call have all played these roles behind the scenes, the grunt work, blue collar roles, the glue roles. Ultimately, they really are the nuts and bolts of any program that they're in. So again, credit to these guys for playing that role so well. Congrats again to Tommy on your new position. Dwight, go ahead and go next, and then we'll end with Mike.
So I'll say 2 things that I learned as I was director of operations before I became an assistant. And kind of like what you just said, Tommy, the first one, servant leadership, right? That's what I had to do for these guys. And did they always appreciate it? No, but it was necessary. 1, for our organization to run smoothly, and 2, for me to do my job. But a lot of the things that we may assume they know, they don't know, because they're still kids. Right? A quick story I had the other day, a young man we're dealing with who's coming to school, he asked me what his account number was so he could buy something online. And he literally went to his bank account to get his account number, save his credit card. Right? Those are the type of information, that's the type of information that I have to give some of these guys to just help them be successful. But the servant leadership is one thing, and the other thing is recruit your campus. Right? As director of operations, I had to deal with housing, had to deal with meals, had to deal with anything and everything on campus that was non-basketball related. And some things fall through the cracks, some mistakes happen, and those people that I have to deal with have to like me and have to want to work with me so that I can be successful. So servant leadership, recruiting my campus were 2 of the things that I did behind the scenes to make sure that our organization ran smoothly.
Awesome. So I go back with Coach. He's from Dallas. I'm from Dallas. I started as an AAU coach, not really knowing I was going to end up being a college coach. And I think we may have played this team like 3 times, and I'm trying to figure out how to stop this dude. Believe it or not, he was a good player. You know, I know he don't look like it now. He's a dad, and
Well, thanks, man.
he got the facial hair going. But yeah, he played at Colorado. Was a good player and was a good player in Dallas. And but the thing I loved about him, even after we competed, man, he had the presence of a coach even then. So he's always been like family to me. We played for the same AAU coach essentially. So we've always been family. He's like a little brother to me. And he's going to continue to do great things as he already has. And then we got Mr. USA down at the bottom. Let's see what Mr. USA got for us, man.
So I'm gonna touch on kind of what Tommy and Coach Thorne was saying is a lot of the unseen stuff is personal sacrifice. You know, people just kind of see what's on your bio or what's on Twitter, you know, all that kind of stuff. And you know, I played 1 year of high school basketball, and then I decided I played high school tennis as well. And I decided that, you know, tennis, just being realistic, was going to take me further as a player than basketball would. So my dad left and became a dorm dad at a tennis academy, so I could afford to, you know, go live my dream and try to do as much as I could in tennis, because Colorado tennis wasn't exactly, you know, the cream of the crop. So we moved to California, and, you know, I trained at a tennis academy, and that got me a Division I scholarship to LaSalle. And my first day in class at LaSalle, I emailed the ops that was there, and, you know, just anything I could do with basketball, I just missed it. And so that's kind of how I got started back into it after I'd taken a little bit of a break. And, you know, I manager at LaSalle. I don't know how well y'all are familiar with it, but it's in the A10, but it's definitely near the bottom of the A10 as far as resources go. So we only traveled 2 managers, and all the others just kind of stay there. And I got lucky in that I was able to travel the first semester as a freshman, which that doesn't happen very often at those types of programs. So, you know, that just meant getting back at 3 a.m. from a bus trip, because we bust everywhere. You know, they charter now, but we bust everywhere at LaSalle. So we'd get back at 3 o'clock in the morning, have to do the laundry, get everything flipped, and we were leaving at like 5 o'clock the next day, because we'd had to, you know, get to the next spot. But we were there a day so guys could get to class and all that kind of stuff. So just the unsung stuff that you do as a manager. And, you know, that traveled into my student assistant at Montana State, and then my volunteer D3 job, where I didn't make a single penny, and I lived at the basement of my brother's house, and I substitute taught at the local middle school. And I don't know about any of y'all, but if you've ever taught middle school aged kids, it is, I mean, I thought it was fun, but I was lucky because, you know, I was a coach at the local college, and, you know, they kind of respected me a little more than, you know, maybe just any other substitute that might walk through the door. So I got in charge of, you know, in-school suspension, or, you know, I was going all over to whatever class it might be, just because they kind of knew I could sort of control the class more so than the other subs. So it was a gift and a curse, because I usually got the class that no one else wanted to deal with when the main teacher was out. But I think that kind of stuff prepared me for an ops role, like Coach Thorne was talking about, is taking care of a bunch of stuff, so, you know, the staff doesn't really have to, and having those relationships with compliance and financial aid and housing and equipment and anything you might do, so you can talk to them as, you know, away from your job, so you have the relationship. But then if you're in a bind and you may need a favor, so you can look like you're doing your job to your staff, that person is more inclined to help you out, as opposed to if that's the first time you're ever talking to them. I mean, who's this guy? He's just showing up when he needs something. You know what I mean? So I think that's really important. And I think that can transition into a possible assistant job, because if it's at that same school, or maybe that person moves on to somewhere else and they're on the hiring committee, or whatever it may be, they may be best friends with the new coach, you know, and you just never know who's connected. And I think having those relationships is just valuable to have in your back pocket as a genuine thing, though.
Awesome. Well said, everybody on that. We're going to go a lightning round, similar topic. If you had to say 2 words only that you would suggest? So you're suggesting somebody to replace you. Tommy has just moved up. Jerry has made that move. Dwight has made that move, and the other guys on the call will soon make that move. If you're suggesting somebody to follow you, what is 2 words that you would want to tell your head coach that that person is? So in other words, you're giving advice, you're giving insight to guys on the call that may have aspirations to follow in your footsteps, or even just guys that want to learn from what you guys have been able to do. So we'll start with, again, our 2 vets. We'll go Dwight and Jerry. Either one of you guys go first, and then just kind of go in any order. If you just had to pick 2 words, Coach, this guy is this and he's this, what would you say are 2 words you would want to be to say?
Well, I was speaking language that our head coach understands, and that is preparation. So I would say this guy is prepared, and I would say he's a servant leader. So I have 3 words, but two concepts.
That's all right. I appreciate the concept. That's good. That's good.
I say this guy's ambitious and he's a winner.
Big time.
Leaving from my position, or trying to get to that double spot, passionate and organized.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say that he's selfless and ambitious.
I would say selfless and proactive.
I'd say detail. I don't want to say organized. So I would say detail oriented, but I'm going to count that as 1 word, and then the next would be a winner.
Concepts. I love it. I love it. So in that same breath, tell us about your head coach. If you had to say 2 reasons why your head coach is great, what would you say? We'll say 3. We'll give head coaches their just due. So tell us your head coach's first name, and then just tell us 3 reasons, just characteristics. You don't have to go into detail, just characteristics that makes him great.
I'll go ahead. I'm gonna actually do both of my head coaches. I'm gonna do it because Tick Price deserves to be mentioned on this. So I'll start with Tick. That guy is a mentor. He's a father figure to not only his coaches or his players, but his coaches as well. I learned so much from him in a year that I'll forever be thankful for. And then just a little bit that I've got to know Coach Irvin. Family oriented and dedicated. He's dedicated to making Chicago State, a powerhouse, and he's going to do it. And so the one thing that I can say about him though is from day one he's been about family, and that's been unbelievable to me, and that's been awesome. So both of those guys, I would endorse to anybody, and I'm thankful for both of those guys, and thankful to be able to be mentored by both of those guys. And continue to be. So
yeah, awesome stuff, Tommy. Anybody can go next.
I can go. I would say first off, the staple of our program is our toughness, and it starts with our head coach, and that trickles down. So that's number 1. Number 2 would just be his accountability. He holds everybody accountable, from the staff to the players to the managers to the AD. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but he holds everybody accountable. And then he's extremely passionate. He loves what he does. He loves his family environment. He loves taking care of everybody in his corner. But he's really passionate. He's going to push you, and that goes back to the accountability thing that I talked about.
I'll go next. Rodney Billups is my head coach here at the University of Denver. And the first thing of 3 I'll say is he's family-oriented. The second one, because he cares about – he tries to create a family atmosphere amongst us. Staff members and players, and a lot of people say it, but we do mean it. And second is invested. He went to school here. He's from the city here, so he really wants to see the University of Denver succeed in ways that it has not. And then third, I say he cares. He cares about the development of his staff members and development of his players. So in everything he does every day, really reiterates those 3 things. So.
Brad Korn is a head coach here at SEMO. I worked with him for 1 year at K-State, and in that time, family oriented. He's got 2 kids. He's married. I'm married. Everybody on our staff is married. Everybody except for one of our assistants has kids, and he invites us all over to the house, and I think we have a relationship outside of just basketball because of our families, how we feel about him. Thankful. He stresses that every day. Just being thankful to, we have jobs where, clearly it's hard work, but it's not a hard job. And we get to support our families by being able to coach basketball, which is unreal. And then the last word I would say is ambitious. I think he hired guys who had the same kind of pathway as him. He started as a Dobo at K-State and then left to be an assistant at Missouri State. And he did that for 4 or 5 years before he went back as an assistant at K-State. I was a high school teacher, coach for 10 years, and Coach Brooks and Coach Weber gave me a great opportunity to be a GA. So I went from making some pretty decent money, a pretty decent living, and not making any, but being able to do what I want to do. And so that's something that I think it drew me to BK, and it's definitely something that he's reflected in his staff.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
My head coach is Richie Riley, and the first word I would use is passionate. I don't think, and you can't convince me that anyone else loves basketball more than he does. I mean, and not just basketball, but the intricacies of basketball, how it's played and where it can take, his players. And I think that will transition into the third word that I give you. But the second word would be builder. He's all about building everyone around him. He builds his players' character as players, as men, to be, the best basketball player they can be, the best man they can be, the best husband that they're going to be, and how you go about doing that. But also his staff. He builds up his staff and puts responsibilities on our assistants, myself, everyone, to prepare them for the next job. He doesn't put a ceiling on anyone. And I think that speaks accolades to who he is as a person. And then the third word I would use is humble, and humble in all aspects, as far as the relationships that he has with his staff, the relationships that he has with his managers, the relationships he has with his support staff. He treats us all as if we were, part of his family. And I'm not saying that to be cliche in any sense of the word, but it's literally true. I feel like I leave my house in the morning and I'm coming home, if that makes any sense at all, because the office is really, it's where we obviously prepare for basketball, but it's where we prepare ourselves for life, his staff for life, and his players for life. So passionate, builder, and humble are the three words that obviously I feel I could write a book about that would describe him, but it's a lightning round, so I'll leave it to those three words.
Big time. I thought you were going to say burn the boat, but pretty close.
Well, I feel, now that you said it, I have to say that part that would go under builder, because, and that's part of how he, helps his players build and his staff build, because burn the boats isn't just something he puts on a t-shirt or wears on a hat or tweets. Obviously he does all three of those things, but it's literally how he lives his life and how he wants us to live our life, because you really can't achieve everything that you possibly can achieve if you really are planning for a backup plan, or if you haven't burned your boat to put it all into what you really want to accomplish. Because otherwise you're just like, if one thing goes wrong, you're like, that backup plan's starting to look a little better here and there. So, it's really a lifestyle.
No, awesome.
Don't worry about it, Mike. I didn't even use three words. I didn't even know that was part of the prerequisite there.
You had two coaches to show love to, so it's all good. You did a great job.
I missed the 3 word part. I didn't follow the rules. I apologize, guys.
Yeah,
it was a good remix though. It was a P. Diddy would be proud.
There you go.
Yeah, I work for Sam Scholl here at University of San Diego, and the first word that I use to describe Coach is developer. That's the number one word. That's the staple of our program, and that's the number one word that we use on a day-to-day basis. That's from developing them as men, as players, as future leaders. Coach Scholl takes that word to the next level. He pushes the staff. He develops us as a staff, and for me, it's been awesome working for him. also, he's super smart. He's super intelligent. He's one of those guys, he has so many ideas in his head, and he wants to implement so many different things. And for me as an assistant, it's just about keeping up with him. You know, if that's going to sit down and talking to him about a new offensive plan that he wants to implement for hours, then, you know, that's just what it's going to have to be. The third thing, he's ambitious. He also went to University of San Diego, so, you know, he's determined to get this program moving and making it a perennial contender in this league on the West Coast. So, you know, he's very, very ambitious with doing that on a day-to-day basis. You can tell his approach on the day-to-day as well. So that's Coach.
Oh, that's awesome. We're getting closer to the end. We're going to have some super lightning round, then we'll have a couple 1-minute rounds, and then we'll end with some social justice, and then we'll open up for questions for the rest of the room. So the super lightning round will be just who is the greatest player of all time? So you get to go one at a time. People can also chime in the chat. We'll figure out if we can get a poll to see who is amongst this group. But go ahead and unmute yourself and say who you think.
Jordan, done.
Jordan.
MJ. Man, I'm gonna switch it up and go. I know I'll probably get crucified.
Who did you say, Dwight?
I'm gonna switch it up and say LeBron. I'll probably get crucified, but I'm gonna say LeBron.
Do you mean that, or are you just doing that because?
Hey man, burning.
My boat's not burned.
What you got for me, RP?
Hey, I just respect him just for having a difference of opinion. That's the way the shit got to be. It's got to be a changing of the guard a little bit.
I'm a prisoner of the moment.
Well, I'll change it up. I mean, y'all can't talk to me no different. I'm a prisoner of the moment. I know what I know. I think LeBron James is the greatest player. I mean, to do what he's doing at the level that he's doing it at in the social media era, I mean, I know that plays a big factor in a lot of this stuff. So, I mean, hats off. I think he'll be the GOAT once it's all said and done.
Appreciate that, Mike. I think you're the only one left. You can't say Jokers or anybody from Denver for the record.
No, I won't. My pick would be Kobe. Not only what he has done on the court, which has obviously been tremendously successful, but I think everything he's done off the court to inspire. Obviously, both Jordan and Bron have inspired countless people, but I just think Kobe's, what he did, you know, before he played, while he played, and after he played, speaks volumes more than anything he did on the basketball court. And he did a lot of stuff on the basketball court.
Awesome. So let's go. So if you had to say one advice, you have just a 1-minute round. So you got 1 minute to answer. Don't have to get too detailed, but you have, again, 60 seconds. But one advice you would give your younger self, what would it be? Any order.
I say be humble. You know, kind of like I explained to you guys earlier, I went from being a player to now being a servant. And at the beginning, that was hard. And that process for me, it took a long time, and it took some real self-identification. So just be humble, you know, work hard, and really embrace the grind. And you do those things, and you got a good chance of being successful.
I would say enjoy the journey. You're so much. Looking back, I wish I would have enjoyed more time being a video coordinator at Richmond and not trying to be a Dobo. You know, I wish that I, you know, would have enjoyed more time being a Dobo at American and Cleveland State and Lamar, and not trying to look for that next step. You know, you got to balance those things for sure. You know, as you know, trying to go where you want to go, but you know, also enjoying where you're at. You know, enjoying the people that you're around a little bit more, enjoying the area that you're in a little bit more. You know, I think, you know, Mikhail said it earlier, you know, be where your feet are, and, you know, really understanding that. I think I've understood that a little bit more since the pandemic a little bit, but, you know, and, you know, really, I would tell my younger self, just enjoy the process, you know, cause you're going to look back. I'm going to look back when I'm 50 and be like, man, I really miss, you know, those times I lived in DC with my wife when, you know, there was a blizzard, you know, and everything shut down for like 2 weeks, and it was just, you know, hanging out in DC in a blizzard, you know, was really, really cool. But like, at the time I didn't enjoy it the way that I wish I would have, you know, and just little things like that you don't even think about. So enjoy your process, enjoy your journey, and it's your journey, you know, enjoy that and understand it's not going to be the same as anybody else's. So really enjoying that process.
I'd tell myself to be more confident. I was a okay high school player. You know, we had a really good team, played with some really good guys, a couple pros. I was a walk-on in college, but a lot of what I did, I feel like I sold myself short in terms of, like, I knew that I had to work harder than pretty much anybody else. And so I was already humble, but I kind of forced myself to take a backseat. Let me learn, and let me be observant, and let me be quiet. Let me just observe everything. And, you know, I was actually pretty good. I was pretty decent. And even the same thing kind of in my coaching career, you know, I would just tell myself to have more confidence, because you know what you're doing. It's really okay to be confident without being arrogant. And, you know, I love the journey that I've gone on. I've been a 7th grade girls coach, and I've been a GA at the Power 5 level. So I've seen it all, I feel like, but I think a lot of what, who knows where I could have been if I just had a little bit more confidence and I had a little bit more presence. So, you know, I'm definitely working on that now.
Awesome.
I can go next. I mean, it's so easy to say what you would say to your younger self, but I mean, I would know what I would say to myself 6 months ago. You know, before this quarantine happened, I felt as though I was in the industry, but I didn't really have a voice. And to this day, I'm really thankful to Coach Brooks and Coach Chang and the Be Ready family for giving me that voice, you know. But I would just tell myself not to take anything for granted, and to kind of get out of my comfort zone. Just going back on my journey, just moving from the Bahamas to Houston, I've met so many people along the way. I mean, just thinking about you, Coach Burton, I met you when I was in 8th grade. I remember when Coach Brooks was at Bradley, and he recruited me when I was in the 10th grade, and I laughed at him. I said, I would never come to Bradley. And now, 10 years down the line, Coach Brooks is a mentor to me, and I talk to him 3-4 times a week, you know? So it's just crazy. Just embrace the people that are around you, surround yourself with good people, and just always give back to others, you know, because just this quarantine alone, just seeing so many high major people just take their time to give back to me, like, there's no reason I can't get back to a manager that might email me, or, you know, like kids that are sending me film. Like, I would just kind of delete that stuff in my DMs, like, you know, but just stuff like that, just embracing people around you and just never take it for granted.
Awesome.
I would tell my younger self it's okay to make mistakes. As a player, a college player, a professional player, I want to be perfect. And I think me wanting to be perfect definitely took away from some of my abilities. And then as an adult now, as a Dobo, I didn't like making mistakes, and that took away from some of my abilities because I was worrying about the last mistake I made instead of the next thing I need to do. So tell my younger self, don't be afraid to make mistakes, just make sure you learn from them.
Yeah, I would tell my younger self to, I guess, have a better plan in a sense. And it's hard to tell yourself as a kid to know what you want to do. And that's not what I mean by that. But what I mean is I would always have like 5 or 6 things I was involved with. So after I graduated high school, and I played college tennis, but I was also a student manager. So as the #1 tennis player at LaSalle on scholarship, obviously I had those obligations. I had school obligations, basketball practice obligations, and basketball started to become more and more of a passion. So, you know, I'd be up at 6 a.m. rebounding for coaches, go to class, go to tennis practice, go back to basketball practice. So I didn't have any time. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I'm happy I did it all that way. But, you know, I went from there to Montana State Billings, and I was a tennis athlete again and a student assistant for the basketball team. But then I started like managing a professional tennis player because I met her at the academy. She fired her agent. She didn't really trust anyone. So like I booked her a flight at 3 a.m. from Kuala Lumpur to Miami, and I was like a hero for that. So she basically wanted me to start helping her doing other things. So that started to grow. And then that became, I started traveling with her. So I left school, went online, left my college scholarship, started paying for school, and started traveling the world with a tennis player who was top 30 in the world. And that, you know, I would do her Under Armour contracts, her travel, where we were going, And, you know, I would hit with her and coach her when her and her dad were fighting. So, because her dad was her main coach. And so for those 2 years, I grew a lot with that. But, you know, that all ended in an instance when she fell, broke her hand, and hasn't played a tennis match since. So then I'm like, all right, what do I do now? And that's how I moved into the basement with my brother's house. So I say that all because I feel like if I would have started my passion at LaSalle and knew it was basketball, who knows where I could have gone with my focus being in that, if that makes sense. But at the same time, obviously, everything I've gone through has gotten me to this part now. So you can always have a plan for what you want. And now I have sort of an end goal plan and maybe my steps to get there, but you know, it may not follow those steps. So I guess the better advice would be have a good end goal plan, or have a good end goal plan for that. But then as it gets sidetracked, don't lose sight of the end goal, but have a focus.
Well said. Well said. Appreciate you guys sharing that. Another lightning round question. We're going to try to keep it to a minute. Pick one characteristic or one quick story that somebody wouldn't know about your journey that's allowed you or enabled you to be successful. If that makes sense.
I can kick it off. You know, I guess for me, my journey really started when I was a kid, man, like just with perseverance. My mother is blind from a car accident that she had when she was pregnant with me. And so, you know, my dad left not too long after she went blind. So I held multiple jobs as a kid, you know, just kind of, you know, persevering through that and, you know, and kind of pushing me. You know, and I think that over time, that's kind of helped me in this profession, you know, the perseverance part, the hard work part, the never taking anything for granted part. So, you know, I get, you know, my story, you know, my career really started when I was, you know, 10 years old and my mom woke up and couldn't see anymore. And I had to grow up really quick. You know, so that, you know, my part of the story really started at that point, I think, in my life and, you know, something that I think kind of was instilled in me, you know, at that time when at a young age that has kind of carried me, you know, I think through this profession and hopefully will continue to carry me throughout my career.
Big time. Appreciate you sharing that, Tommy. Definitely appreciate you sharing that. You've shown that perseverance everywhere you've been, and you'll continue to do that at Chicago State as well, man. We're all proud of you. Whoever wants to go next.
Tommy, thanks for sharing that, man. Like Brian said, I got a story as a GA at Georgia Tech. We're playing a preseason NIT tournament in Brooklyn. And, you know, I just got done playing in Europe and I took a year off and did a few different things, but I thought coaching was something I wanted to do. But all I saw was what happened on game days. I didn't see what happened behind the scenes. So we get done playing a game on Thanksgiving Day and I get to the hotel and there's no Thanksgiving dinner for me to eat. And I said to myself, this is real. Right. I looked at my other GA buddy and said, this is real. And that was a decision. That was the time I made the decision. This is something I wanted to do. Right. First time in my life, I never had Thanksgiving dinner. I was hurt. I was sad, but I made the commitment to want to be a college basketball coach because it's what I wanted to do. So that was a low moment for me.
That's real. That's real. Appreciate that, Coach.
I had, can you guys hear me? I had, Brian kind of touched on it earlier, but when I was at Arkansas Fort Smith, it's my first assistant job at the college level a couple years ago. My wife was pregnant. My baby was due in March of 2019. She ended up coming December 15th of 2018. And so during that time, we're living in Fort Smith, but my wife and my baby were at the NICU in Little Rock. So that's about a 2.5 hour drive. So, I mean, I was going to practice, then leaving, going straight to the hospital, spend the night, get back in the morning. So I'm going back and forth every day. And when she was born, she was 1 pound, I think 14 ounces. And she's in the incubator. you know, I have my hand in there, and I'm kind of, you know, playing with her fingers and playing with her hand and stuff. And she grabbed my hand, she grabbed my finger, and like she like wouldn't let it go. And it completely changed my life. That whole time I've been wanting, like, man, I want to be a Division I head coach. I want to get as high as I possibly can. And then in that moment, you know, experiencing that and seeing what my wife went through, it really just kind of made everything like, you know what, I'm gonna be all right. And so, you know, every time I've had 3 jobs in the last 3 years. Been in 4 different cities in the last 4 years. And each time, you know, me and Brian went through it a couple of years ago, and I was really anxious. But having gone through it, I can always refer back to that moment and just understand that, you know, I'm gonna be all right. And so, you know, that definitely, it drives me, and it helps take a lot of the anxiety of this job off, because I know at the end of the day, everything is gonna get taken care of. It's gonna get handled. So that's my story.
Yeah, man, I was right there with you, my brother, and I'm probably the only one that has more cities. Me and my wife been married 3 years, and we've been in 7 cities in 3 years. So, and still happily married. She loves me more today, fortunately for me. I think she's probably crazy, but yeah, being a father, being a husband is as important as anything we do with our players. We got to make sure we're taking care of home first, and that faith walk. I appreciate you being a brother in Christ to walk through that journey with me, man. You've been an awesome one.
Already.
Let's get these last couple, and then we'll go to the next question.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for kind of opening up your stories. I know it's not easy talking about some of these things, but you know, first for me, a story for me was my year with the Pistons. I worked for Stan Van Gundy. That year, he got let go. In consequence, the whole staff got let go. And, you know, for me, that was kind of hard because I was supposed to be there 2 years, and Dwayne Casey came in. I was with him all throughout summer league, and it didn't work out at the end. Got a call, didn't work out. And at that point, you know, it was a turning point for me in my career because it was late in the summer. Wasn't many jobs available. You know, my network wasn't huge. I had only been in the business for a year. So, you know, it was hard for me. Didn't make a lot of money in Detroit, so it was tough. I lived in the Bay Area. It's expensive. But, you know, one day I was just about to start, you know, training kids again, getting back to the training kids going. I know everybody on here done that a little bit, train kids, make some extra money. But you know, that night I decided, I said, I'm gonna give them a month. The last week of that month that I said I'm gonna give myself, Rodney Terry calls me, and he said, hey, could you make it out? It was a Friday. He said, could you make it out here on Monday? I got a director of player development job for you if you want it. And it was a no-brainer. You know, I got to work with Coach Burden, Lamont Smith, Nick Masson, and Rodney Terry. And, you know, for me, that was kind of it was a full circle because I actually transferred from Rodney Terry at Fresno State, went to Santa Clara. And, you know, his relationship wasn't great, you know, in college. I transferred out. He inherited me. We had our ups and downs. And for him to give me that opportunity, you know, at my lowest point, you know, in my short career was huge for me. So, you know, that was a big turning point in my career. And ever since then, things been going pretty uphill for me.
I can appreciate you sharing that, JB.
Yeah, I've said this to JB too, and I'll say this in front of everybody. I mean, I just so much respect for JB for his professionalism, his class. Not everybody can handle being an inherited player and maybe not seeing eye to eye with a coach and having to transfer to then being hired by that same coach later. I mean, I just think it speaks so much volumes of who JB is and what he's about, and then to even go there and have so much success. I saw him work every day, man. I saw him in the trenches, and so to have so much success there, that led to him now being an assistant just a season later. Again, credit to him. So go ahead, Double M.
Appreciate that, B.
Yeah, appreciate you sharing that, JB. So what kind of cemented the fact that I wanted to do this? So the year I told you guys when I actually cooked, so I did my GA year, the year after I got done. Then my second year was when I was full-time on staff. And I'm from the Bahamas, and I had some complications with my my visa and stuff, so I wasn't allowed to work. I wasn't allowed to make a penny. So I worked the first 2 months, and then my third month in November, right when the season started, I didn't make a penny until that following June. And the only person that knew it 6 months into it was the assistant coach, because there was literally nothing they could do about it. So I talked to Coach Kellen, I let him know. And, he worked out some things where I could do some different side hustles. But that year, I had to really decide if it was something I wanted to do, even though it was outside of my control. And between, like JV said, between working out players, I worked out a lot of pros that year. I got really good at my player development stuff off the court with guys outside of the program. But I was working at a bar on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So we'd have workouts at 7 a.m. I would leave the bar at 3 a.m. I was a bouncer at a bar. So little skinny old me, I'm over here breaking up fights. I'm doing whatever it took, but I had to make money. So, I'm a bouncer at a bar. I'm getting 2-3 hours of sleep. I'm coming to the job, and, I'm working that entire year, and nobody knows I'm not making a penny. But, at that point, I realized it was something I really loved and enjoyed doing. Because like every day, no matter how little sleep I got, no matter how much money I made, even though I wasn't making anything, I was happy to go to my job. So that's something that just kind of just allowed me just to really appreciate every little penny that I got now. It's never about how much money you make in this business anyway, but as long as you're around people that support you and love you, it's just easy to be successful in it.
So I would say my moment is when I was 7, my parents were divorced. So I had to grow up kind of quicker than any other 7-year-old might. My mom was a flight attendant, still is, won't ever retire, even through this pandemic. I'm trying to convince her to, but she's 74 and still flying around. But at the time she was based in Germany. So she would be gone for, 2 weeks at a time and then home for 2 weeks at a time, essentially. And my dad worked in Chicago. So he would leave early Monday morning and get back late Friday night. And, we didn't have money for like a nanny or anything like that. So on the weeks where my mom was gone, and my dad was gone, I would be, at a friend's house spending the night, or, the nights I would get courage spending the night in my house alone if I could, like I said, get courage to do it as a, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old. Making my own breakfast, packing my own lunch, actually doing like homework when I got home and not playing video games, which that was probably the hardest part. So I think that what I went through there just kind of instilled like doing the right thing, getting the right thing done when no one's looking, in a sense. And I think that's something that myself tries to implement with our guys, or, the 6th through 8th graders that I used to substitute teach, is how important it is to do what is right when no one is looking, or not to get credit for it, because that's how you really grow. That's how you get to where you want to be, not just doing it when people are looking at you so it looks like you're getting it done, but actually getting it done the way it should be getting done.
Yeah, big time. Everybody, thanks so much for sharing all those big time stuff, and definitely helpful to anybody at any stage they may be in their career. So we'll kind of go to the last question for this segment, and we'll open up to everyone else and just say, in 1 minute, what's one word, and any kind of quick expansion you want to do on that word, but to your why. Why do you coach? If you had to say what's one word you would say first, and then maybe again a 60-second reason behind that why.
Impact. For me is impact. Just being able to make an impact on lives on the day-to-day. If that's from my colleagues to the student athletes to people in the community, just being put in a position to really have an impact on lives. I like to look at myself as a teacher as opposed to a coach. We teach the game of basketball, but the impact that we have on their lives is much bigger than the game of basketball. So for me, it's just being able to make an impact, and that's what keeps me going. That's my happiness, and that's why I love what I do.
JV stole my word, man. That's definitely being impactful is something that, just as a teacher, I didn't start off in basketball, you know what I mean? So like, my court, I guess, or my classroom was literally my classroom. And I taught 9th through 12th grade English, and I was able to coach, because I love basketball. But my impact, I got guys I have students who still email me, who still contact me, you know, and we don't really talk about basketball. They talk about stuff that happened in the classroom. They talk about just everything that was. I'll never forget. I had a kid. We had STAR testing, and he would come to class every single day, and he was one of the worst behaved kids I ever had. And I had some donuts, and he actually walked into class that morning. He said, "Coach, can I have one?" And I gave him a donut. We sat there and talked. And he hadn't had breakfast practically the whole school year. And so he's coming to school hungry every single day. And so, like, from that point forward, like, I'd have some donuts. I'd have just something there for him to eat before school started. And he turned into somebody that I keep in touch. I mean, to this day. That was 13, 14 years ago. So it definitely being impactful. And you know, the basketball stuff is really just kind of, you know, it's a tangent. You know, the being impactful stuff has way more to do with the stuff outside of basketball, for me anyway, than it does on the floor.
Yeah.
And it was Shipley's. It was Shipley's Donuts. So if Shipley's is way better than Krispy Kreme, just so I want to put that
Yes,
out
sir.
there.
Yeah,
No,
let that be known. Let that be known.
I just think the biggest thing with all this is just kind of teaching these kids teaching everybody just how to find your purpose. You know, we all kind of, being a former player, we just all just grow up just being that guy. You know, we're just always getting our ego stroked. This kid's doing this, we're doing that, we're so successful, you know, but a lot of kids, we don't ever find our purpose when doing that. You know, like, we got to figure out that we're more than basketball players. So that's my job as a coach. Our job as coaches, just to teach these guys that they're so much bigger than what they're portraying themselves to be, because they're only going to play basketball for maybe, if they're really good, they play basketball for 2-3 years. If they're pros, they play for 5-6 years, but after that, they're done and they're 30. And then, you know, a lot of people don't know what they're going to do. I'll admit, once I got done playing my senior year, I broke my foot my senior year. So if I didn't break my foot and I was on the sidelines already, I probably wouldn't have gotten into the coaching thing, because I never wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be a doctor my entire life, just to save lives. And, you know, just my first year, I kind of grasped on to one of the freshmen, and we grew really, really close. I got a story I can't really personally share on here, but it just really just taught me how impactful, how much of an impact we can have on these kids' lives, man. And I just think about all the coaches that have been in my life, from AAU to Pee Wee and all of that stuff, and just the impact they've had. So that's just been my biggest thing as a coach, just trying to teach kids what their purpose are.
Yeah. So
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm continuing to obviously develop it every day, as we all are. But it kind of started back to my time. So when I lived with my brother, the biggest reason why I wanted to try and get the volunteer assistant job at the local college is mainly because I wanted my 13-year-old nephew to think I was cool, you know, have a little bit of respect. You know, he looked at me for advice. He plays for the DC United Youth Soccer Academy, and he did at the time as well. So he looked for me from advice, because I had been at the pro, you know, sport level, obviously different sport, but he wanted to know what the pro athletes do and how they're different and all that kind of stuff. So as soon as I moved in, him and I kind of developed that sort of special relationship. So I'm like, how can I build on that? Well, go be a basketball coach. So I was able to do that, and that led into the you know, the substitute teaching role. And I bounced around. I did it mainly at his middle school, but one day I was at Great Mills High School, and we actually had, I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it, but Great Mills High School had a school shooting, and I was there that day. And one of these kids who, you know, every kid thinks they're invulnerable, right? They think they're you know, nothing can ever touch them. So he'd come into my class every day. He was the, you know, I don't know if class clown or whatever you want to call him, but the cool kid that everyone kind of looked up to. He was an athlete, and, you know, tougher than nails and everything. And that day, as soon as we heard the shots go off, I shut my door, barricaded it and everything. But, you know, I saw a side of him that I hadn't seen before, that I never would have seen without that situation. And it just kind of hit me a little bit afterwards, is, you know, how, you know, not weak, but how sensitive everything is, you know, and that kind of developed into, you know, this kid who really doesn't take academics seriously, who just loves sports, and thinks that's going to take him everywhere it's going to go, you know, he actually improved from a D average to a B plus that, you know, in that semester. And I actually became a like a permanent sub in that classroom. So I got to kind of see these students every day for 4 months. It was the teacher went out on maternity leave, and I got to see them every day. And, you know, when we got back to school from all of that. So I say that in my why is because now in college, there's obviously different backgrounds in everyone in our players, but no matter how hard of a background they've come from, you know, they're still an 18 to 22-year-old kid. And I can't remember exactly who was saying it before, so I apologize, but with the account number, like they're growing. They don't know life after this. So in an ops role and hopefully in an assistance role and a head coaching role down the line, way down the line. But as an ops, you know, with my position right now, I have a unique relationship with the guys because I'm the one that's bothering them as they say, like, you got to get this done, you got to get that done, go sign in, do your NCAA forms, go to the JAG card and get your ID. And like, man, Mike, just bothering me. But like, as much as I'm bothering them, it's like it's teaching them these life lessons that they need to know. Like, you need to go to the DMV and get your driver's license. If you don't want to do it, you have to do it. You got to get your JAG card if you want to eat. That's where your meal plan money is. So my why is developing more so from that day really into seeing the other side of who these players are outside of basketball. Obviously helping them accomplish everything in basketball, but that's not my job right now specifically, but everything outside of basketball to help them grow as a person, no matter how tough they think they are.
Yeah, awesome job, fellas.
Yeah, I would say.
I think Tommy's the last one, right?
Right. And I think Dwight too.
Okay,
I'll go ahead.
Last, man, my fault.
I'll go ahead. I guess, you know, for me, you know, my why is to inspire, and really it doesn't really have to do much with basketball. Coach AB's I cracking up right now, by the way. But no, you know, the one thing that'll never be able to be taken from me is my testimony. You know, where I came from, the way I grew up, you know, my mom's story, you know, recently the COVID thing, you know, how I battled that, you know, the way that God's kind of blessed me through everything, and the way that, you know, that I've kind of persevered through things, and my story is something that never can be taken from me. And basketball right now is my platform to be able to share that, and to be able to inspire people to chase their dreams. Not just our players, but our coaches and people in our athletic administration. And, you know, so for me, you know, my why is more to inspire people to chase their dreams, to persevere through hardships, to understand that their story is unique. And that's something that can never change, that your story doesn't define you, but it refines you. And to be able to do that, and to do that, basketball being my platform, you know, right now. And, you know, if basketball is ever taken from me, because basketball can be taken from me tomorrow, you know, the old saying that you're not a coach until you get fired type thing, you know, at the end of the day, there, you know, finding my platform to continue to inspire people and inspire, you know, whether it's players, coaches, people in administration, you know, other students on campus. So that's my why, you know. And I think that, you know, one of the best things that I ever got was I got a text message from, you know, a former player, you know, hey, Tommy, like, you know, I just saw that you battled COVID, you know, and you got through it and you got back to your kids, to your kid and your wife. Like, you know, that inspired me, you know, to be able to push through what I'm going through right now. And he told me about some medical stuff that he was going through, and to be able to inspire him through my testimony and my battle, you know, I think is important. So using basketball to really push that is something that I value, you know, and that's my why.
My why is, I said it earlier, concept, more than one word, servant leadership, right? My entire goal, the reason why I do it is just help these guys be better than I was. And that's not trying to enable them, but show them how to do things so they can do it themselves, whether it be on the court, off the court, in the classroom, with their friends, with their family. If they have a question, they need help, I want to be there for them to help them. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to see them be the best version of themselves. And I think for me, through servant leadership, I'm able to accomplish that.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome job, fellas. Appreciate you guys opening up, sharing stories, sharing so much knowledge of your journey, so much vulnerability along the way, and having a little fun as well, man. I think we all got something from tonight, and just want to open it up for questions. So if you have a question, kind of unmute yourself, say where you're from, your name, and then if you have a specific question for someone specific, you can address them. If not, then we'll just let a couple guys kind of chime in as they want to.
Hey, it's Jordan Luna. I'm a GA at Northwestern State. Been married for about a year, and getting up at 5 a.m., getting home at 8 p.m., doing the whole GA thing. Like, just I want to hear from other guys who've done it and who are in ops roles and assistant roles. Just kind of how do you prioritize your wife, your family, just the people around you well?
Great question.
I can go. I think you just gotta really just carve out at least 2 hours minimum of your day that you just know that once you get home at this time, you're dedicating that time to your wife. And I have a wife and a 2-year-old son. And I probably get home around 6:30-ish every night. So I try to make sure the first thing I do, I just put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I put it away. If someone calls me twice, I'll get it. If they're my favorites, I got my head coaches and everybody else in there. But I really just try to prioritize spending that critical time with my family. Like the phone call you got to make to a recruit can wait. Obviously, if it's someone that's high priority, you kind of put in place a time when you can do it, but you got to organize your day around that. Just as important as it is for you to get to the office at 6 or 7 a.m., you need to make sure it's just as important that from 6 to 8 or from 7 to 9 that you're having that time with your family. So I think it's critical. I think it's just put the phone away is the best thing I can say and just enjoy that time.
And I'll add to that too. Like know what your head coach values. Like if you value family, don't be afraid to ask your head coach in a job interview, like, how much do you value family? And if it doesn't align with you, with what you value, maybe it's not the right job for you. Coach Amir over at Kennesaw State, he mentioned that to me when I was going through going through the mock interview process with Be Ready, and that stuck with me. Like if what you're what you're interviewing for, it doesn't align with your core values and what you value, then it's okay to say no to that, because at the end of the day, that's very important.
Yeah, let's have one more answer this one. Go ahead, Dwight.
I was gonna say that who you work for is huge, and one thing that helped me with that was scheduling out my day by time. Right, whatever that time is, if you're gonna be in the office, have that time scheduled out. So when you get home, that time is scheduled out for your family, for your significant other. But it's a challenge, right? There's no right or wrong way to do it. You gotta make yourself do it and give yourself the time by scheduling just like you would anything else.
Jordan, I think it's a big time question. I'll just piggyback on these guys. 100% scheduling out your day, 100% time. But it's not always going to go as you plan, let's be honest, especially as a GA.
Right.
So I think the part for you is making sure you do as best as you can to communicate with your significant other. And then when you have time, whether it's a Saturday, whether it's a Sunday, make sure you do extra to make up for maybe what you couldn't do when you couldn't control it. Because there's a lot of times where we get called to do this or get called to do that, and inconveniencing, and you have to continue to give that understanding of how hard it is to be in that role. So I think it's really hard to come back and get frustrated with her or get mad or, and we all want to do it. We're human. But I think just as given being that servant leader at home, that even when you can't be accommodating, just when you have an opportunity to be accommodating, you take control of the home, or you have things cleaned up, or you give her time to just be away and be a normal person. Because I think that's the part where, at the end of the day, your significant other wants to be really valued. And sometimes you can't value her with time, right? Time is the biggest thing we want to be able to value with, and that's what they want. But sometimes you just can't. So you have to be able to communicate well. And then when you do have time, you can't be playing video games. You can't just talk to your boys on the phone or do what you want to do. You have to plug into your significant other. So great question and great answer, fellas. Caleb, I think you had a question, Caleb.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And thanks for all the coaches for jumping on. I feel like this was super insightful and was able to learn a lot of good information about trying to move up in the business. My name's Caleb Koopa. I'm an
So
assistant.
I can say this real quick. Caleb just had a recent interview. I was able to have some conversation with him. He's one of these guys that is a rising coach like everyone else on this call. But I wanted to say that Caleb is a guy that I think has a really bright future and is definitely in needing to connect to the guys on the call, whether you're also in the room like he is or whether you're one of the panelists. But he's definitely a guy that's up and coming in the things that he's doing. He's had some close but not quite breakthroughs, but his is coming. So I just wanted to say that before he kind of gets going.
Appreciate that, Coach. But yeah, just like Coach said, my name is Caleb Koopa. I'm an assistant at Westtown. So we're one of the best high schools in the country. So we are the fortunate of having a lot of coaches come through to recruit our players. So just kind of wanted to ask the panel, what are some things that with that leverage I can do to hopefully build some relationships and hopefully get on as a support staff member in the coming years?
If you don't mind, Coach Ryder, you go on first on this one. You've been at the junior college level.
Well, I guess I'll go back to my high school time. So I see Coach Brooks is on the call. Coach Brooks, when he was at Bradley, I was at Bel Air High School, and we were fortunate, really good high school. We always had a lot of players, and so AB would always come in there, and we just kept in touch. We just talked. We just kept in touch. I would never, at that point in my career, I would not say that me and AB were like best of, like that was like we were boys, we were tight. And he called me. I was actually getting ready. I was kind of on that journey, like, man, like, am I ever going to get an opportunity to coach college basketball? And he called me and gave me the opportunity to come to K-State. And so I asked him, he was like, man, I just watched you from afar. And I think the biggest thing that you could probably do, like your leverage is not only going to be your players, obviously, especially at the junior college level, but it's going to be what you do and how you do it. And I always try to make it a point, like with my players, like anytime they come into my office, I always try to make it a point for them to see me working or see me doing something. I never want them to see me being idle when I'm at the office. And that's not to say that, I mean, you're in a different space because you're at the junior college level. And you're going to.
It's a high school, not a junior.
Oh, you're at the high school level. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's even better. So you're always, because you're always going to have players. There are always going to be coaches walking through your door, and you're going to be in a position for people to see what you do. And I mean, every time I walked in the gym, I was sweeping the gym, or I was sweeping the bleachers. Or if I was in the hallway, I was helping, get the herd of kids out so we can get the workouts and stuff started. And so, when I asked him about, what he saw, he just said, man, I always saw you working and I liked how you worked. And I never got the impression that you were doing it just so you could be seen. And so I think being able to develop those relationships with those coaches, like, they want to see, this is an industry where it's people want to see that you've paid your dues, right? And so you're paying your dues, especially at the high school level, by doing a whole bunch of different things. But I knew that if he went to talk to my head coach, I knew my head coach would tell him what I was doing. And it was always something that was helping my head coach be productive. It wasn't me trying to shine light on me to show that I am helping him. My work speaks for itself. And so I think if you could, I mean, you've obviously already done that, and being on these calls and really investing in yourself, that's only going to help you. It's only a matter of time. Don't do like I did, and you're constantly like, man, I applied for this job. Like, I didn't know how it worked, right? It's not about applying for jobs. It's about people who are willing to put their name on the line for you. And if you're able to show how hard you're working and showing that you're investing yourself into somebody else's success, which, if you're head coach or somebody else or whoever, even if you're players, like, that's going to speak volumes, and that's going to help you get your opportunity.
JB, if you'll chime in on that, and then we'll get a couple more questions, then we'll close.
Yeah, quick question, Caleb. Where do you live?
Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Some quick thing that you can do that I learned from a couple mentors of mine. is during the summertime, make sure you work camps. Like they have a lot of different camps, a lot of different basketball camps, maybe at Penn State, at local D1s in the area. Make sure you really invest time and work the camps. You know, they got a lot of schools do. I mean, we got like 5 or 6 camps where we had 5 or 6 camps. Make sure you work those, build those relationships. You got a luxury. You got good players. So coach is going to be in the house. A lot of high school coaches don't have that benefit of having good players. So no college, so you'll never be able to talk to college coaches. So make sure when they're in there that you're working hard and you really invested in the players, and make sure, you know, that your hard work goes recognized. If that's in the summertime, or is that on the court when they come see the players play?
I appreciate that, Coach. I mean, one of the things that's tough is there's a rule you're not allowed to work camps if that school is recruiting your players. So obviously, because we have so many talented players and at different levels, high major, like Cam Reddish, Mo Bamba, the guys that are going high major, but we have guys at the low major and mid-major level. So it gets really tough in finding schools that aren't recruiting our players to find those camps. So, I mean, but that's definitely something that I wanted to do this summer. But next summer, looking to take advantage of that for sure.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Can I say one thing?
Please.
Something, I don't have much experience because I've never recruited before, but something a friend of mine that's a high school coach does is, obviously they have recruiting websites that do evaluations. Something my friend does, he coaches his team, obviously, right? But when he's at tournaments and stuff, he starts taking his notes and he makes little evaluations. That way, when the coaches come to see your guys, obviously you want to market your guys, but you can give them a scouting report on some of the other kids locally. Because, you know, sometimes, you know how those recruiting services are, like, it's a lot of false advertising, you know, but if they trust your eye and they see that you know what you're talking about, they're going to be like, okay, this guy has an eye for talent outside of the kids that are at his school already.
No, that's good advice. Caleb, you want to be that dude that if I'm looking at a kid in Pennsylvania, a D1 transfer, doesn't matter, but he come through Pennsylvania, Caleb, you know everything about him. You know who I need to talk to get in touch with him, who I need to talk to get it done, you know, what he values, you know, where's mom work at, whatever. Any kid that come through Pennsylvania, you got to have the tabs on it. Therefore, Coach Dwight Thorns, hey, I got this kid in Pennsylvania, you know, what's his deal? Caleb, I got to call Caleb. He gonna know everything. And you have that asset, you always gonna have a job. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, and just to add to what these guys are saying, you're getting great answers from all these guys from their experiences. I would just piggyback on what Dwight said was his why, and what Coach Strine has talked about and embodied through this pandemic is just, you know, be a servant leader, you know, and I think your brand, and Coach Proctor talked about this, he was hired essentially, and Coach Brooks reached out to him, a lot of it because Coach Brooks watched his brand. And it sounds generic, it sounds kind of cliche, but ultimately he was interviewing every day. He didn't know it. So whatever you're doing, whether it's working camps, whether it's evaluating other guys on other teams, whether it's knowing the transfers of people in Pennsylvania, you're always representing your brand. So I think just doing it in a way where it's positive and doing it in a way where you're helping others, and there's no guys will get to know you that way. And you don't have to do it thinking, oh, I'm going to get this job. But just know every time you're doing it, that person could be a potential hire. I think me and you talked about a gentleman. Matter of fact, we had a 3-way call. I linked you up with somebody who I had only met on Zoom, kind of like Tommy said, and didn't know anything about him, but was so impressed with him that I was blessed to be able to link him up to a job that he got hired in, you know. So you never know who's watching. So I think just continuing to represent your brand the best way possible, in the most positive way possible, in a servant mindset. We got a few more questions.
And let me add to that real quick too. Like something to understand is as you're going through everything, like I learned this over the pandemic is your reputation is going to get you indoors that you'll never step foot in. You know, and that's something to really think about, you know, who you are as a person and what people think about you as a person, not just a coach, you know, not just a worker, but what they think about you as a person. That's going to be why they bring you up in conversation a lot of times. I truly believe that, you know, so as you're going through the process, as you're meeting people, just, you know, understand that, you know, it might be another high school coach that you're talking to that, hey, you have a really good, you build a good relationship with them, you impress them in your first impression. It might be that guy that sees a coach somewhere else and says, hey man, Caleb over there, over there at what's the high school is it again?
Westtown.
Westtown, that's what I thought. Okay, over there at Westtown, man, that dude's not only a good dude, like not only a good worker and everything like that, but that's a good dude over there. And you would never you would never know that you were in that room with that coach, and then you never stepped foot in it. So just being a genuine person over and over and over again to everybody you meet, and being the same person every day goes a long way.
So great job, fellas. Jacob, you're up next, and then followed by Brent.
Coaches, I appreciate you guys speaking and being here tonight. This is a kind of two-part question. I'm Jacob Lindo, a manager at University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. And as a manager entering their final season, what should I be doing? What can I be doing to make that jump, whether it's a GA or an internship? And then the second part is, if I have a really high interest in video and continuing to do video somewhere, how can I be advancing my skills in that as well to market myself and be the best I can be for the next position, whatever it may be?
So my first advice would be kind of what we talked about earlier, is do your job, do the best you know how to do there. And, the staff that you work for now will open doors for you, whether you know it or not. When they talk to other people, maybe you're able to be in a position there next year, wherever it may be. But your biggest asset right now is the people that you work for. Now, obviously, that's not to say you shouldn't be networking and meeting other people. I think that's something I continue to grow at, and that might be a reason why I was a volunteer Division III assistant for 3 years, not making any money, is because I got so enthralled into not wanting to meet new people because I didn't want it to look disloyal to my current boss. And I think there's a proper way to go about that, is when you try to make genuine relationships with people, not just shake a bunch of hands to say, like, I know that guy, when you've really just shaken his hand, but to actually go out virtually now, I guess, but, connect with people in a way that it's more than just you wanting something from them. And then 3 years, 4 years from now, maybe that's your next job. So the main thing is do your job now, to whereas either your staff can't let you go next year because you've been so valuable, or where someone on your staff has a really good friend that just gets a job, or they have someone that leaves where they're like, and if you guys want to get better and grow your staff, you need to hire Jacob. He's a worker. He'll do what he needs to do. And then the second thing is, don't waste any time. When I learned graphics through YouTube, and that's really kind of how I got Coach Riley's attention. And I did it. I would drive my nephew up to DC and watch his practice for 2 hours, but instead of just watching his practice or playing on my phone, like, I would watch YouTube and try to do some graphics and then drive home. So I think taking advantage of every spare second you have right now to grow in video or graphics or whatever it might be, but use tools that you can use that are free, YouTube, Google, and take the time to grow those skills.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can touch base. I mean, Mike, you covered it all, man. Just one thing I'll add to it, so I oversee our student managers here at Houston. And something I'm working on this year because of the Be Ready family, I'm trying to work on something where I can kind of help our managers, just kind of take that next step, just get the confidence to do exactly what you're talking about, Jacob. And one of the first things I encourage them to obviously have your resume and stuff ready, but like start doing some handwritten letters to some coach that kind of interests you, right? So when I was a GA, even though I knew I was probably going to come back to Houston, I started writing letters to Josh Pastor and a few coaches that I played against that would recognize my name and just say, hey, I admire what you do. Make it personal. Like if they run an action that you like, or if they had a really good recruiting class, just be like, hey, coach, really excited about your team. Wishing you the best of luck next year. If there's anything I could do for you where I'm at, just let me know. And you'll be surprised. Out of 5 people you reach out to, 2 of them might reach back out to you, and you can just build on a relationship there. And with the video stuff, I don't know what you have access to, but if you have access to Synergy, you can do anything. Like obviously if you have like Sports Code or iMovie and all this other stuff, you can kind of put a bunch of different projects together, but just make yourself busy, man. If you have time to do something, you're never too busy to do something. Just find the time to find something that you're good at and just be elite at it, man. So if it's putting together highlight tapes,
If it's putting together like a recruiting video where you're really just selling Rio Grande Valley, and you could do that for another school where it's not taking 2-3 weeks away from what you're doing at your current job, maybe you can put together a little 10-minute project where you send it over to Mike at South Alabama and say, hey, just some things I worked on. If there's something you're interested in, just let me know. I can help you get through it, yada, yada, yada. And you're just making yourself indispensable. So just find something that you're good at. And Coach Sampson's favorite saying is, your greatest dependability is accountability. Or, yeah, I think your greatest dependability is accountability. So just make sure, you're dependable. I might have messed it up, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, and definitely Jacob get with Double M after this, because he's as good as anyone at figuring out how to brand with video, and he's done a great job, as he talked about earlier, on social media through the pandemic. I think Tommy may have commented on it too, and he's brought it up. But just find ways to be creative, and I think not only just hitting up head coaches, but also identifying assistant coaches. Coach Brooks is on the line. He'll be a head coach soon. Adam Hood is a rising star that will continue to grow in his business and be a high-level assistant and be a head coach. So guys like those guys are also guys that you want to make sure you're touching as well. Let's go.
Brian, one more thing.
Yeah.
Jay, I would say, and for anyone else, obviously, take time to read coaches' bios. Find coaches that have been managers, GAs. That's how I, connected to Coach Pearl and to Coach Urick that were on my Zoom on Sundays, because I met them. Well, I met Coach Urick like 5, and Howard was in the DMV area where I was at the time. So just taking that time to do research, I think is important. And then from the beginning, you have common ground to strike up a conversation with someone.
Awesome. Coach Daniels, go ahead and go next.
Yeah.
And speaking of graphics, so a lot of the graphics at All Access Coaches Corner, give special shout out to Brant, because he's done a unbelievable, beyond measure type of job on a lot of the graphics that he's done for All Access Coaches Corner. So he's one of the guys, similar to what Coach was just talking about using your time wisely. He has really gotten really skilled at the Photoshop or whatever he's using. He's elite of the elite at what he's growing to do. So credit to him. I want to give him his flowers real quick.
Thanks, Brian. So I've been an NAI assistant, NAI head coach. Unfortunately, our school closed with everything going on, and I'm trying to prepare myself for a potential admin spot, maybe at the Division I level. And I know a lot of the stuff that you guys do behind the scenes goes overlooked. Are there maybe 1 or 2 things you guys would recommend that might be one of those things that the average person or even someone in my position wouldn't know that I can be proactive about to prepare myself for that opportunity?
I'll take a stab at this one. What I would suggest is maybe one of the places you're interviewing, you're speaking to, try to get an understanding of the league or the schools that are in that league, the cities that you'll be in, so that when you speak to the head coach, you already have an idea of what an itinerary may look like, what a flight pattern may look like, so you can give him a real live example of how his team can look with you in control of their travel or of their meals.
Awesome.
Something I would say too is right now with the pandemic, if it's an admin position, I would do a bunch of research on the university and see if you can come up with any cost-saving measures that would help their bottom line. If you have any knowledge on, I can't even think, but if their sprinklers are watering during the rain, like down here in Mobile or when I was a kid, I always laugh when I would go by the high school and it'd be pouring rain, but the sprinklers were on. Like, that's wasting water. So I think in this pandemic, if you're going for an admin position, an AD is going to want to, stay afloat as long as possible in a way that keeps life normal, if that kind of makes sense. So if you can dive into any sort of way to save that school money by having you in charge, or ideas that you may have to do that, I think that separate you right now.
I think piggybacking.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Every ops job or every administration job I've ever interviewed for, like the first thing and the last thing that the head coach always asks me is like, you know, how organized are you? Like, so like how organized can you be when you go in? Like, are you, you know, first off, are you dressed the part, you know, and then, you know, how can, and it's probably a little bit harder right now, you know, with the Zoom stuff, but, you know, are you organized in your thoughts, you know, as you're talking through your thoughts, you know, are you organized in the way that you present your, you know, your resume, you know, so just being organized and everything. Cause at the end of the day, that's probably, you know, the one of the biggest things that you have, you know, an administration role is having that. So, you know, I think just being able to show that you are organized, because like I said, every ops interview I've ever had or any administration interview I've ever had, you know, that's like the first thing that they ask is how organized are you? You know, talk to me about the organization part. So anything that you can do to show how organized you are, I think is very, very important.
Yeah, and piggyback off of you and Mike, Tommy, you're going to know the only person, well, you'll probably know in that administrative role, especially in the ops role, you'll probably know more about the program than your head coach. You're going to know budget stuff. You're going to be involved in any and every meeting that has to do with the program for the most part, right? So as much research as you could possibly do on the school, on the community, and you know, right now is a huge thing, like Mike was saying, is budget stuff. Can you manage a budget? Can you find ways to save money without ruining the integrity of the program? Can you find ways to save money and still make everybody feel, you know, in terms of, you know, uniforms or gear or shoes or whatever? Like you really you really want to be tapped into the pulse of not only the players and the program and your head coach, but also the community as a whole.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, let's take one more if anybody has one, and then we'll get some comments and closing thoughts.
Hey guys, really appreciate you all coming on. Sorry, my connection might not be that good. If you can hear me. I can type it if 1 second.
No, we can
hear
hear you. It's a little bit of an echo, but we'll push through it.
Okay. I was just wondering, what are the 3 most important things that you guys look into when looking to make a change, whether it's to an ops role or a different coaching job? What are the 3 most important things that you look at before taking that move?
Let's just have each guy say one, and then we'll close it out with that.
It has to suit your family. That's just all I got. It has to suit your family.
I would say alignment, right? Do what you value, do what you appreciate. Does what you want to do in terms of your career development wise, does it align with who you're working for and what they want from you in that role?
I would say similar to that, but who are you working for? Does who you're working for align with, you know, your ethics, your family life and everything like that? I think your boss is very important. And, you know, if you have a good relationship with your boss, I think that makes the job better.
I would agree. You know, it's got to align, you know, in every way. You know, it's got to align with your family. It's got to align with, you know, kind of your career trajectory, you know, and then, you know, kind of align with, you know, what you're good at, right? Like, you know, and what, you know, can you be a benefit to that program? You know, kind of, you know, and I think that those guys hit it on the head, you know, and who you're working for is very, very important in this business. And it's got to align with your core values and what you truly want to get out of your career, what you want to get out of kind of your, you know, your life and what your family wants to, you know, so I think that those are all important things for sure.
Alignment and family, it doesn't get any better than those 2 answers.
Yeah, I agree. It's alignment. I mean, who you work for, who you work with, you know, all it takes is one bad fit, and then the whole alignment of the staff is messed up. So just make sure that it makes sense for yourself and your family.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Coach Brooks, the legendary, the pioneer, as I like to call him, great man. Could intro him forever. He came on a Zoom I was blessed to host. Obviously, he's doing the Be Ready, but he came on a Zoom I was blessed to host, and he absolutely crushed it as far as his ability to coach and his details of the game, his innovation. So I want to make sure to give him his flowers as well as somebody who has embodied the balance of coaching at an elite level and having his family as a priority at an elite level. So, and not only that, just being a constant giver to others. He's been a great friend of mine and somebody I've looked up to since I first got in this business. We were aligned pretty closely and worked for some of the same bosses like Grant McCaslin. So I can speak forever about him, but I want him to have the floor. I'm obviously representing the Be Ready family. He's made a enormous impact on me. I would not be doing what I'm doing right now with this Zoom stuff if it wasn't for him going first and him being so credible and so elite at what he does. So I want to give him the floor to say a few things about these guys before they have closing thoughts.
Man, that introduction make me feel like I'm important or something.
Real important.
No, I'm not, bro. I'm not. I appreciate that. But I think this is a great thing that you're doing, first of all. Anytime you can help other people get better, in my opinion, that's what it's about. I think that's been something that's lacked in this business for a very long time. I think that we see it as a rat race, and I think the pandemic has changed that mindset. So I think once we get back to normal life, we got to figure out a way to continue to help one another get better, because the better we get as coaches, the better our student athletes get, and the better the games get overall. But it's great to see all the guys on here. I think everybody on the panel I have a personal relationship with, except Jerry as of now, but I'm sure at some point I'll get a chance to know him. But biggest thing I would say, man, is be genuine with your relationships. That's the biggest thing. Like, you can just be genuine. I think a lot of guys have checklists where they just contact people just to contact them. But if you don't have anything to talk about, don't contact them over the phone. Like, it's easy to just text people just because it's social. It's social right now, just texting. So I know I keep in contact with a lot of people, and I know it gets tough. And so, but at the same time, I think that don't ever change because of the shirt, the shirt name, should I say. A lot of people change based on the logo. Don't ever change based on your logo. I started off as a JUCO coach, and I remember when I first went into Division I at Bradley, the same dudes that was recruiting our players didn't even speak to me when I walked in the gym. And I've never forgotten that. And so don't ever be that person. Like, always be genuine, just a good person, because God will bless you for that. So don't ever feel like that you got to change to make it. Like, don't ever quit, don't ever do anything integrity-wise. No player is that good to cause your family to not have nowhere to live because you done made a mistake. Like, integrity is everything. So make sure that you do everything integrity-wise, work hard, and align yourself with teams. Like, they saying do research on a bio. You need to do more than research on a bio when you go into these jobs. You need to figure out who you working for as far as the head coach, but who also the assistant coaches. Because I've been on bad staffs. And if you're on a bad staff, you're going to have a bad team. So you want to make sure that you research the staff that you're on, because championship teams start with the staff. And it's a lot of selfish players. It's also a lot of selfish coaches. So make sure that you not only research their bio, but try to figure out something about them as people. But I think all you guys that's on here are great. I've gotten the chance to know all y'all, even though Mikhail didn't come to Bradley, but it's all good. But I think, getting to know Mike and even getting to know Dwight a lot better, and Tommy during the pandemic definitely has been great. And then, of course, Aaron Proctor, he had me roll down in his wedding when I had a torn Achilles, so I owe him for that, but it is what it is. But now, great job, Burton. I appreciate you allowing me to talk. Whatever y'all do, man, my pops always tell me this, and I'm praying that I don't do it, but he said, whatever you do, don't self-destruct. So if you don't self-destruct, you got a chance to keep moving forward.
Awesome. Appreciate that, AB3, man, greatly. We're going to let Coach Proctor, he's got a team meeting in a little bit. We're going to let him give his closing thoughts. We'll go to TJ Saint real quick to give Jerry some quick flowers, and then we'll let everybody else give their closing thoughts.
I appreciate you having me on, Brian. Obviously, this is a great opportunity just to get to know other people and hear other people's journeys. I left my phone number in the chat, my email. I'm definitely not big time, so I ain't gonna big time you. And I'll definitely be reaching out to you guys. Quick thing about AB. AB tried to ruin my wedding. He was a groomsman, and he went out and decided he wanted to go hoop and he tore something. And he called me, he was like, yo, I ain't gonna be able to be in the wedding. That wasn't happening. I told my wife, she was like, he'll find a way to be in it. So he was in what's the little push willy things when you tear your ACL? My man was rolling down the aisle. But that just goes to show the love that he had for me, because he could have easily got out of there. And whatever he saw in me, I tell him all the time that I'm thankful for him, and I appreciate him, because without him, I'm probably not in this industry. So there are people who believed in me, and I guess probably the one thing I'll say is whoever believes in you, always let them know how much you appreciate them, because this is, you guys clearly know this is a very fickle business, and it's very volatile, and you need people who will vouch for you and who will stand behind you. If you fall on hard times like I did, I could call Brian, I could call AB3, I could call Jordan Luna. Like I could call people, and they had my back, and they gave me the confidence to stay in it. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, B. Appreciate you having me on.
Yep. Awesome job, Coach. I'm looking forward to following you in your new role over there at SEMO. We're going to pass it to TJ Saint real quick, who hired Jerry Brown with the Pistons, and let him say a few things about Jerry and say anything else you want to say to these up-and-coming coaches, and then we'll let everybody else close.
Yeah, I appreciate all the stories and all the comments that everybody said tonight. When I worked in college, I was a GA, I was an ops guy, I was a special assistant. I've been on the road for an entire summer recruiting, so I get it. I get all of it. I've slept in basements for no money, had to pay bills that I couldn't afford at the time, and so I get it. And just to kind of, a lot of people don't know Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown is an assistant coach at San Diego, as you know, and I hired Jerry Brown for a couple reasons, but the biggest reason is he was pure of heart. And I interviewed 15 people, via Skype at the time, not Zoom. And his purity of heart and willingness to learn and willingness to serve was what stood out, when we got him with the Pistons. And if you guys get a chance to know this guy one day, down the road, he's going to be a head coach at the Division I level. I just know it. His relationships, with our staff, with our players in Detroit was tremendous. And I can't say enough words about how proud I am for how far he's come in such a short time. And it was a pleasure to work for him, or work with him. Sorry.
Thanks, TJ.
Yeah, thank you, TJ.
No problem, Barry.
And the guys that don't know TJ, you definitely want to know him, because you talk about a dude that's a grinder that knows ball. And I was blessed on a coach's retreat to get a chance to get some insight. I'm still getting to know Coach, but he's been very kind and encouraging to even come on and still want to learn from younger coaches. He's just one of those guys that doesn't care who he's going to learn it from. He wants to continue to learn and evolve. And I know Coach Terry Johnson over at Ohio State, worked with him at Butler, and he had nothing but raving things to say about him. And obviously he's continuing to climb the ranks as well. I know we have Jimmy Oakman on the call as well, who's also in the G League level. But let's definitely continue to share with guys at all levels. But we'll let Double M go first, and then just kind of go in any order. Just give your closing thoughts on anything you want to share or say, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks again, fellas.
Yeah. Nah, Brian, man, I really enjoyed this, man. I really appreciate everyone that shared. It's just so many things. You get on all these Zoom calls and you take all these notes and do all this stuff, man. But you got to figure out what you want to do with the information you're receiving. I mean, I've probably been a part of at least 200-300 Zoom calls since the pandemic started. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. We all have, but you got to really figure out what you want to do with the relationships that you're building on. Like Coach Brooks made such a great point. You got to be so genuine in those relationships because, I mean, like I said, I never big time anybody, but I could tell when someone's just reaching out to reach out. Like I'm nobody. If someone calls me and texts me, I want to have a good conversation. I want to talk hoops. If you want to talk about family, I want to do any of that stuff, man. But just my biggest thing I'll just say is just take control of your journey. Take advantage of the situation we have because, I mean, y'all know the numbers. I've never been a part of any of these clinics at the Final Four, but how much would they charge to go to a clinic at the Final Four to do one of these? Anybody answer, please? I don't know. Y'all don't ever pay because y'all big time, y'all schools pay for it, but the little people, we got to pay for that, but just really, really just take advantage of this opportunity you have, man. This is going to be, it's going to be a lot of winners and losers of the pandemic. Just make sure you come out of it a winner, man.
You're not little people, by the way, in height or in position. So let's let that be, or in impact. Let's let that be known. Whoever wants to go next. Thanks, Double M. You've been awesome, man.
I'm gonna piggyback on Mikhail there a little bit. It's don't let this pandemic let you get lazy. I feel it's gonna go one or two ways. A lot of guys are gonna come out when everything gets back with a lot of hunger, and a lot of guys are gonna come out a little stalemated. That kind of makes sense. I've seen it a little bit in other aspects, not necessarily in basketball, but in life. So I think this time when you have these Zooms, Mikhail makes a great point, is how are you, like, you could say you've been on 200 Zooms, but are you going to make that, are you going to make anything of it? I know Mikhail is, I know he is, and that's not why I'm saying it, but he makes a great point is a lot of people may just get on these Zooms and say, yeah, like, I was on this Zoom, I was on that Zoom, I listened to this person, I listened to that person, but like, how are you going to apply that to post-pandemic or your life in general, So that's a challenge I give to anyone on here, listening. Not that I'm in a position of higher power to challenge or anything like that, but, we help each other grow. Is how are you going to take the stuff you learned from this pandemic and get better from it?
Awesome, man. Awesome. And again, if you don't follow these two guys yet or connect with them, definitely make sure you do because they're always providing some quality content out there on during this pandemic.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank Coach Burke for having me on this and giving me this opportunity to speak to everybody on here, get to know a lot of the coaches speaking better. This platform is awesome, and and there's nothing better I'd be like to do on my day right now. But I like to close it by saying, just be real, be real authentic. And as long as you're real and authentic and you really love the game of basketball and don't get caught up in all the, glamour, or get into the business thinking it's all glamour because it's not, it's not all the time. It's a lot of stuff you got to deal with. And if you don't love it, if you don't love the game and you don't have a passion for the game, it's going to be tough. And that's just something I try to remind myself, with all the time. Right now I'm in a good spot in my career, but I know things change quick. So it's important to stay real, stay true to yourself, keep it real, and just make sure you're authentic.
I'll go ahead. I got three things, and I'll keep them brief. First one is I want to shout out to all the wives and significant others. I truly think there's a special place in heaven for coaches' wives, right? The time we spend away, the things they do to hold down the household, I think they're special. So I want to shout them out. The next thing I want to say is for us, and one thing I realized in this pandemic and being away from the office is that, there's a big world out there that we don't always acknowledge, right? Because we coach, we kind of get stuck in our own bubble from time to time. So I want to encourage you guys to get mentors and get people that you speak to and lean on that are outside the basketball world, whether business field, whether they're family, friends, but people who can give you different perspectives on the world outside of sports. And I think that those lessons that they teach us can also be applied to what we do every single day. And the last thing is go vote. Right now we're in a pivotal time in our history as a country, and I think one way our voice can be heard and we can make an impact is by going to vote. So I wanted to make sure I said that.
And I'll wrap it up here. something I think is really important that I can try to live my life by is to love God and love people. And you can't have one without the other. And, so for me, as I kind of journey through this career and try to navigate it, understanding that who I am as a person in Christ is first and foremost the most important thing that I am. And that directly affects how I treat people. And by treating people the right way, treating everybody the right way, the way that you want to be treated, you're therefore, blessing God as well. So, those two things I think are very, very important. But the other thing is always be willing to pay it forward. Coach Brooks, he gave me an awesome opportunity he didn't know me from Adam, and so he gave me an opportunity to do a mock interview on Be Ready one night, and for 3 days, like Mikhail was probably doing the same thing. I was pacing my apartment. I thought it was the biggest deal in the world. Had no idea that it was going to lead to an assistant job at a Chicago State, because Lance Irvin was on the call and liked the way that I talked, and liked the way that I did things, and so Coach Brooks was a blessing to me. And the only thing he's ever asked from me is to pay it forward to the next guy. And I think, continue to do those things. And like I said, love God and love people. And if you do those two things, everything kind of flows from that. I'm a true believer in that, no matter where you are on the religious, spectrum, I just believe that, if you love people as well and you treat people the right way and the way that you want to be treated, I think that goes a long way. So, just those few things, and understand that nobody's journey is the same. So don't get frustrated and understand that your journey is unique to you, and that's going to be your story someday, and embrace that and take that with you.
Yeah, again, just an awesome panel. Thanks so much for everyone for coming on. Thanks, Rising Coaches. If you haven't been, like I said, check out risingcoaches.com. We'll be back Thursday, 5 p.m. Central, with one of the best coaches in Conference USA. Was just invited to the Top Connect here recently, so definitely come and tune in Thursday if you have time. And other than that, just be great and be grateful. Be safe out there, fellas and ladies. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it, man.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.